Chapter 143. Because he didn't have the time or opportunity to leave school, Lu Qing bought the gift through the official flagship store online. When he received the package in time, he thanked the online shopping and express delivery. He thanked them for making the world so king convenient. Well, I can't appear too eager and have too much hope so as not to scare xianxia. There's a chance I'll give it a try. If there's no chance, I'll wait for the next time. Looking at himself in the mirror, Lu Qing silently encouraged himself. Then he took out a piece of chewing gum, unwrapped it, stuffed it into his mouth and seriously stirred it. Although he might not have a chance and although he didn't have bad breath, it's always better to be prepared. It's always good to leave a perfect impression on the girl during the first kiss. Chewing the gum, Lu Qing walked out of his own dormitory, walked along the pedestrian street, and arrived outside Building 3 where xianxia lived. He sent a message to her telling her that she could come out now. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he found a trash can and spit out the gum, so as not to reveal his wild ambition and make the girl vigilant and resistant. Xianxia was always punctual. Lu Qing didn't have to wait long before he saw her coming out with martial arts training-related items in her hands. Because the weather was getting warmer, the girl wore a thin white sweater, a short orange coat, a black pleated skirt, a pair of matching leggings and a pair of small boots. She was different from her usual student style, but she didn't look mature, still full of youth. Moreover, she seemed to have applied something lightly on her face, which made her fair skin more rosy, delicate and charming. Her eyes were bright and spirited like stars. Lu Qing, who was starting to get used to her beauty, was stunned again. For a moment, he stared at her blankly and forgot to greet her. He also ignored the chubby girl beside xianxia. Xuanhuan couldn't help but laugh. She moved closer to xianxia's ear and said in a low voice, "You're really silly. But looking at you now, which boy wouldn't be silly?" Xianxia turned her head and smiled. She seemed to be quite satisfied with Lu Qing's reaction, but she said, "Look at his silly look. If I had known, I wouldn't have let you come down with me." Lu Qing, who had been following the girl with his eyes, was awakened by her movement. He hurriedly took a deep breath and walked up to her. He said a little shyly, "I was too engrossed just now," he was about to add, "You look especially beautiful today," when he suddenly noticed that there was a girl beside xianxia. He was afraid that the shy girl wouldn't be able to accept it, so he stopped abruptly. Xianxia pursed her lips and didn't respond to Lu Qing's compliment directly. With a smile she introduced, "This is my roommate Xuanhuan. She's a really nice girl, just a little noisy." She turned her head and said to Xuanhuan, "He is Lu Qing. You saw his silly look just now." These words made Lu Qing's face turn slightly red, and Xuanhuan couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh softly. Facing other girls, Lu Qing no longer felt uneasy, even if she was a girl's roommate. Therefore he smiled calmly and generously. "Hello, are you Ku's roommate from the same major? You know?" Xuanhuan looked at xianxia in surprise. Xianxia shook her head innocently, indicating that she didn't say that before. Lu Qing smiled and explained, Ku would occasionally mention her roommates. Every time I would take a notebook and remember them, thinking that if I don't succeed in my confession, or if there is a conflict in the future, I can take a roundabout way and take the route of the masses. She said that her roommate from the same major has the best personality, natural and unrestrained, and is very warm-hearted. Just now, she specially emphasized that you are especially nice, so I thought that it should be the same person, so I made a bold guess. He seized the opportunity and successfully got the nickname Ku. Xuanhuan was pleasantly surprised. She didn't expect xianxia to praise her in front of her boyfriend. It seemed that she sincerely felt that her personality was good, and that she was a friend that could be with for a long time. She couldn't help but look at xianxia, feeling warm in her heart. Who doesn't like to hear good words, especially such sincere words behind one's back? Xianxia didn't expect Lu Qing to not only respond appropriately, but also help her to make a good impression on Xuanhuan. For a moment she felt pleased and proud, and her heart was filled with sweetness. She snorted and said proudly, "If there is a conflict in the future? Now you're thinking about how to bully me in the future? Damn, why is the focus of a girl's attention different from mine?" Lu Qing was a little dumbfounded, but he quickly recovered and said with a smile, "I'm just afraid that I will make a mistake, right?" What kind of mistake are you planning to make?" Xianxia said coquettishly. Lu Qing suddenly had a feeling that he should never argue with a girl. He held back his laughter and said, "For example, trying to be brave and getting hurt or something like that?" At this point he quickly changed the topic and looked at Xuanhuan saying, "Since you are the roommate from the same major, then I have to thank you for helping Ku block the harassment on Valentine's Day. Otherwise I could only cry and faint in the corner. Although the incident on Valentine's Day still left a deep impression in his mind, it felt as if it had been a long time. When he was with xianxia, he always felt that time flew by and that they would be separated in the blink of an eye. But when he thought about what happened 10 days ago, it felt as if a century had passed, as if he and xianxia had been dating for a century. This was really a strange feeling. Seeing the boy in front of her calm, confident, and humorous, Xuanhuan nodded secretly and gave him high marks. She felt that he was a good match for xianxia, so she made a gesture of shivering and said with a smile, "Don't thank me, your conversation just now was so corny. I'd better go back to the dormitory and focus on memorizing my foreign words." After saying that, she waved her hand and turned to walk back to the dormitory. When she was about to reach the entrance of the unit, she looked back and saw Lu Qing holding xianxia's right hand, whispering and laughing as they left together. The girl was as beautiful as a flower, and the boy was calm and confident. They were a pair that made people envious. The sour smell of love. Xuanhuan scolded with a smile. Then she fell into a daze and sighed, saying, "I want it too." She didn't ask for it to be good, just half as good as the one just now. In the martial arts arena, xianxia changed into the Songqing University Martial Arts Club uniform with white and black edges. She tied her drooping black hair into a ponytail, looking fresh and pretty. It was a different kind of beauty. Looking at her, Lu Qing felt a sense of pride. But in broad daylight, with so many people watching, he was too embarrassed to go up and hug the girl. He had to take into account her thin face. As for his own face, is it edible? Is it more important than a hug? Boys, in this aspect, are always getting thicker and thicker, to the point of being shameless. He put away his thoughts and smiled. "Let's practice pushing hands and listening first. You're stronger than most of the amateur fighters in that you can enter meditation, so you have to play to your strengths and avoid your weaknesses, so that you can use your advantages to defeat the enemy and win." xianxia pursed her lips and smiled. "Why do I feel like our roles are reversed and you're the coach? Aren't I just repeating your usual teachings, Coach Yen?" Lu Qing fawned over her. Meditation has two main functions in actual combat. One is listening, and the other is controlling your own muscles, fine-tuning the details of your body, and accomplishing things like forcibly changing the center of gravity and constantly borrowing force. xianxia stopped smiling and listened attentively. She nodded seriously and said, "So we should practice pushing hands and listening first, and then practice 24 blizzard strikes in actual combat?" "You're right, Coach Yen." Lu Qing smiled and gave her a thumbs up. "If you can master these two aspects, it'll be helpful for your family's martial arts. At that time, even if you encounter an amateur 1 or 2 pin at the peak of physical strength, you'll still have a chance. Even if I encounter Qin Zhanghua's fighting style, I won't be taken advantage of. Well then, let's start." xianxia bit her lower lip lightly, her eyes bright, eager to try. Lu Qing reached out his left hand and put it on xianxia's palm. While feeling the delicate softness of her skin, he said, "Calm down and try to enter the state of concealment of spirit and qi. Also, maintain the feeling of half meditation. You can't completely immerse yourself in it or you'll ignore the external." He told xianxia his experience in this aspect bit by bit, and racked his brains to make her understand. During this process, he gradually understood some of the specious parts and found many hidden problems. Teaching and learning are mutually beneficial, and education is combined with fun. That's probably what they mean. Lu Qing thought happily. Although the girl didn't have Jin Dan, and her meditation was only a small success, she had a lot more knowledge than Lu Qing in terms of martial arts. After several failures in the beginning, she gradually got the feeling and groped for the trick of half meditation. "Well, you can tell where my next move is through the changes of my muscles and pores on my skin?" Lu Qing asked in a low voice. xianxia quietly listened and said, "You're going to whip your left leg." "Yes, but I'm still a little bit off." "I'm not going to whip my left leg, I'm going to take a step forward with my left leg and hit you sideways." Lu Qing corrected her. This kind of conversation kept happening. xianxia showed her talent in this aspect. Although she wasn't as abnormal as Lu Qing, she soon got the hang of it. The more she practiced, the happier and more energetic she became. Unknowingly, 40 minutes passed. Lu Qing suddenly heard a teasing voice. "Is this how the two of you train? I'm so envious of you." He and xianxia turned their heads at the same time, only to see Li Mao passing by with a bag of martial arts suit and shoes. xianxia blushed again and hurriedly let go of his hand. "We're practicing listening skill." Lu Qing answered seriously without a trace of shyness. Yes. I won't disturb you too." I'm going to the other side. Li Mao teased and left with a big laugh. Xianxia slightly blushed and lowered her eyes. After a while she said, Senior brother Li seems to be more relaxed. Maybe he figured something out? Lu Qing guessed and then suggested, how about we practice the 24 blizzard strikes in real combat? He couldn't practice listening skill anymore. What if Xianxia didn't want to go on a date anymore? Xianxia took a deep breath to sober herself up. Lu Qing only defended and helped Xianxia to achieve a better experience of constantly borrowing strength from the opponent. Although he couldn't use one of his hands, he kept his footwork well and could always avoid the attacks on his right side in time. Under Xianxia's fierce attacks, he didn't fall down after one round. After one round, Xianxia bent over, put her hands on her knees and gasped for breath. The real 24 blizzard strikes for strikes is really exhausting. No wonder my cousin could only fight one round. Her previous 24 blizzard strikes against Guqin could only be considered a beginner. Lu Qing thought of something and said with a serious face, Are your muscles sore? Do you want me to give you a massage to help you relax? Xianxia rolled her eyes at him and hummed, Let's talk about it after you master the technique of massage. Lu Qing silently remembered and decided to learn how to massage next. After resting for a while, they took a shower and changed their clothes. Instead of going back to the dormitory, they went directly to the school bus station. Of course, Lu Qing was the one carrying all the things, while Xianxia seemed to have lightly applied something. Her skin was white and rosy, and her lips were pink and moist, which made Lu Qing feel restless. According to his plan, he would surprise Xianxia with the gift while watching a movie in a dark environment and seize the opportunity to kiss her when she was touched. That kind of environment was more secluded, and he chose a seat near the back where the audience wouldn't notice, which could minimize Xianxia's shyness and timidity. What a perfect plan. P.S. My Weixin official account is holding a lottery to give away signed books and peripherals as a thank you for your support during this time. If you follow Wuxia 1985, you will have a chance to win starting tomorrow. Chapter 144. In the cinema with the lights off, Lu Qing couldn't calm down. He couldn't help but look at Xianxia beside him, waiting for the amazing wizard to enter a relatively ordinary stage so that he could give her the gift and kiss her without disturbing her mood. So far, everything had gone according to his expectations. The 2 rows behind him and the seats around him were almost empty, so he didn't have to worry about being stared at and making her feel shy and awkward. The movie was also very good, and the little details were very warm and funny, making her laugh in a low voice from time to time, full of happiness. The environment was dark and private, suitable for fermenting intimate feelings. In other words, everything was ready, except for the east wind. Thinking of this, Lu Qing's mouth was a little dry. He pursed his lips and reached out to touch the gift in his pocket. It was a colorful gold bracelet. He had combined various suggestions from the internet and chosen the ones that he thought were reasonable. Now he had his own opinion on the first gift between lovers. Regardless of the type of gift that the other party lacked or liked, the first time one gave a gift to a lover was definitely when both parties had just started dating, or even when they hadn't officially started dating. They were far from knowing each other well enough, and their tastes and preferences had yet to be fully exposed. In this case, the first gift must be one that could evoke good memories of each other. It was suitable for couples who had known each other for a long time. Looking at it could remind them of the warmth of the past. This could reflect the intention of the gift giver and the memories of the relationship. However, Lu Qing thought that he had only known Xianxia for half a year and had only dated her for 10 days. Giving such a gift was still lacking in depth and atmosphere. He planned to look for his little notebook on the anniversary of their relationship and edit some words and scenes to make a corresponding gift. Eliminating the first choice, when a guy still couldn't grasp the details of a girl's aesthetic standards, he should never ask for something fresh, unique, and original. In that case, with a man's poor aesthetic standards, it was very likely that he wouldn't be able to get his girlfriend's point. She would be moved by the gift but unable to complain at the same time. When she went back, she would hide it in a corner and only keep it as a souvenir. Therefore, at this time it was not wrong to follow the rules. The classic was not necessarily bad, but at least it would not make the surprise turn into a shock. The value of the gift should not be too cheap, and it should be the best within the limits of one's ability. The kind that was cheap and unique could wait for future opportunities. The first time always had a special meaning. After careful consideration, Lu Qing decided to give up the idea for the time being. He decided to buy a bracelet together in the future. Instead, he chose a bracelet that could be adjusted to fit the size of the bracelet. When it came to the specific purchase, he thought that gold was too vulgar and not suitable for young people. He couldn't afford platinum and diamonds, so he finally settled on the more fashionable colored gold. With rose pink as the base, 6 small hearts were strung together. One was golden and the other was silver. It was quite beautiful and was worth nearly 1,000 yuan. Of course, whether it was beautiful or not was just a conclusion that Lu Qing came to based on the opinions of the girls in the evaluation and his own feelings. But xianxia was not a girl after all. She had her own aesthetic standards. Whether she would think it was beautiful or not was still unknown. He could only say that such a bracelet would not be too ugly for her. After touching the bracelet, Lu Qing looked at xianxia beside him restlessly. He saw that under the dim light of the big screen, the girl had a faint sense of beauty. Her outline was extremely delicate. Looking at xianxia's smile, Lu Qing quietly took a breath and leaned over. His left hand slowly stretched out of his pocket. At this moment, xianxia suddenly moved closer. She was afraid to disturb others and whispered with a smile, "It's so funny. That owl just now was so silly and cute." Lu Qing was startled and put his left hand back. Seeing that the girl was staring at the screen with bright eyes and focusing on the plot, he felt a strong sense of guilt for interrupting her. Let's wait a little longer. When the plot is not so interesting. He made up his mind and leaned his head to xianxia, whispering in her ear, "Yeah, that owl was so silly and happy." Being close to her, Lu Qing smelled the light and sweet fragrance of the girl and felt her hair brushing his face due to his breath. He was instantly intoxicated and enjoyed this closeness. They talked about the plot intermittently and in a low voice for a while. His nose was full of the girl's beautiful smell. He could not help but feel restless and put his left hand into his pocket. "I'm so worried. Will he die?" xianxia suddenly grabbed Lu Qing's right hand and looked at the screen nervously without blinking. How could I interrupt her like this? Lu Qing felt like crying but had no tears. He put the bracelet back. Phew, that's good. After a while, xianxia exhaled and looked at Lu Qing. She lowered her voice and said, "Qing, why are you acting so weird?" "I was also very worried just now." Lu Qing answered sadly. "Yeah, I'm super nervous." xianxia agreed. Lu Qing enjoyed the close communication between the two of them, looking for opportunities again and again. However, xianxia had been watching the movie attentively and seriously for the whole time without a pee. "Next time I'll choose a less interesting movie next time." Lu Qing silently clenched his fist and regretted. He gave up the idea of kissing in disappointment and concentrated on the intimacy. Unknowingly, the movie ended and the ending song and thank you list began. xianxia tried to sit up straight and wait for the lights to turn on. At this moment, Lu Qing's right hand that was holding hers tightened slightly and pulled her back. xianxia was afraid that if she sat up straight it would affect Lu Qing's wound. She gave up and looked at Lu Qing with a pair of slightly innocent eyes in confusion. Lu Qing took a breath and said the lines that he had practiced over and over again. "Beauty, you dropped something." xianxia looked confused. She was so cute that Lu Qing almost forgot to take out the gift. At this moment, the lights turned on. Lu Qing took out his left hand from his pocket and said with a smile, "You dropped a bracelet." While speaking, he let go of his right hand and held the girl's wrist. With the help of his left hand, he put on the bracelet with difficulty. xianxia was stunned at first. When she saw it clearly, she suddenly raised her right hand and covered her mouth. Her eyes were shining like water. She was surprised and happy at the same time. When she saw Lu Qing's clumsy movements because of the inconvenience of his right hand, her eyebrows curved and her smile was gentle and tender. "Very beautiful." She took back her hand and looked at it carefully. She lowered her eyebrows and smiled gently. Her face was full of surprise and blush. Lu Qing saw that the girl was really happy and became very happy himself. He smiled and said, "It's good that you like it." xianxia smiled and blurted out, "Why do you want to give me a bracelet?" As soon as the words came out, she was annoyed. How could there be so many reasons for a gift between lovers? She didn't need to ask too much in case she lost the hazy beauty. What should I do? I was stupid just now. Humph, it must be Qing who infected me. He must be the one who infected me. One is marked by one's company. Lu Qing was stunned by the question and didn't know how to answer. Should he say that he just thought it was more beautiful and more suitable? After thinking for a while, he had an idea and said with a cheeky smile, "When I'm not with you, this bracelet will hold your hand for me." xianxia rolled her eyes at him and held his hand. She looked to the side and said, "Let's go and eat. I'm so hungry." Seeing that the audience in the cinema was leaving, Lu Qing had to give up the idea of kissing her completely. He took the girl and went to the stonefish shop nearby. The shop was very special. The fish was first cut into thin slices and the bones and non-essential parts were boiled with pickled cabbage and other seasonings. Then a wooden barrel was served to the customer. The barrel was lined with specially selected and cleaned stones and heated until they were boiling hot. Then the fish slices were put on the barrel and the fish soup was poured in. After a short wait, the fish was ready to eat. The fish meat was tender and fragrant, and the soup was sour and fresh, which was very appetizing. The special way of cooking made xianxia very interested. When the fish was ready, she couldn't wait to taste the fish slices. After drinking the soup, she said to Lu Qing proudly, "It's really good. The soup is very delicious. Yi, are you hungry? With your dexterous left hand, you can't pick up such thin fish slices. Beg me, I'll help you." Looking at the girl's proud face, Lu Qing immediately put on a pitiful look. "Coach Yin, please do me a favor. I'm dying of hunger." Xianxia nodded proudly and gave him many slices of fish slices and a bowl full of soup. Then she started to satisfy her own appetite. After eating for a while, Lu Qing raised his head and said, "I want to eat. The rice and soup must be very delicious." "I think so too." Xianxia was happy as if she had found a bosom friend. The two of them ate 3 small wooden buckets of rice before they were satisfied and slowed down their pace. They then began to talk about various things. "By the way, you still don't know Coach Shi's name, right?" Xianxia asked with a smile. She couldn't help but play with the bracelet with her right hand. She seemed to like it very much. No one knew whether it was because she really thought it was beautiful or because the person who gave it to her was the right person. Lu Qing was very happy to see this, as if his efforts were rewarded. He shook his head and said, "I don't know. I was injured that day, so I didn't take the initiative to get the ticket for Coach Shi. I suggested to get it for him, but he refused. I suspect there's something wrong with his full name." Xianxia put on a, "I'm a famous detective" look. "Is Coach Shi a wanted criminal?" Lu Qing blurted out. "How is that possible? Have you ever seen a wanted criminal with such a good relationship with the police? And the headmaster wouldn't ask for a master whose background is unknown." Xianxia denied this possibility and guessed with a smile, "I suspect his full name is very rustic or funny, which doesn't match his identity as a mighty one with physical invulnerability. That's why he doesn't want us to know." "That makes sense. Is his name Xianhuan?" Lu Qing guessed happily. They didn't leave until it was almost 8 o'clock. The restaurant was priced at ordinary prices, so with Lu Qing's appetite, they only ate a little more than 200 yuan. In order to catch the last bus back to the new campus, Lu Qing didn't propose to take a walk nearby to help with digestion. Instead, he accompanied Xianxia by the roadside, waiting for the arrival of the online taxi. At this time, he remembered that there was a flower shop dozens of meters away. "After the gift, I need to give her a bunch of flowers to make it perfect." Lu Qing looked at his phone and found that the online taxi would take at least 6 or 7 minutes to arrive because of the traffic jam. He pointed to the daily supermarket behind him and said, "I'll buy some snacks for you." Through their daily chat, he was sure that Xianxia wasn't allergic to pollen. "No, I have a bunch of them at my place. They're all from you." Xianxia shook her head. Lu Qing bought them online, but he didn't think they were official gifts. "Well, I'll go buy a bottle of water. I'm a little thirsty. You wait here for the taxi," Lu Qing suggested deliberately. "Okay, hurry up." Xianxia nodded with a smile. Under her gaze, Lu Qing entered the daily supermarket and quickly bought a bottle of water. While Xianxia was looking back at the online taxi, he ran to the flower shop dozens of meters away. His speed was so fast that he felt it was no less than a pouncing attack in a martial arts competition. 11 roses. Lu Qing shouted while taking out his wallet. "Pack it simply. ASAP. Just pack it. Even better if there is a finished product." After paying, he took the roses, put them on his back and ran back to the place where he waited for the taxi. Xianxia was looking at the daily supermarket in confusion. She felt that Lu Qing was too slow and suspected that he really went to buy snacks. How did you come back from there?" Xianxia asked in surprise when she saw Lu Qing approaching. Lu Qing calmed down and said with a smile, "Beauty, you dropped another thing. Your flowers." He stretched out his left hand in front of him, not giving Xianxia a chance to guess. Xianxia's mouth was half open and her eyes moved. She couldn't help laughing. "I seem to have dropped a lot of things today." She held the flowers with both hands and her eyebrows and eyes were full of joy. Lu Qing laughed and said, "Yeah, you also dropped your boyfriend. Do you want to take it back?" While speaking, he stretched out his left hand. "You're reluctant." Xianxia held the flowers in her left hand and Lu Qing in her right. For the first time she took the initiative to intertwine their fingers. They successfully caught the last bus at 8:45. Xianxia looked radiant and held the roses in her hand. When Lu Qing held her hand and walked to the empty seats in the back row, he felt the complicated gazes of many male students. Two of them in the first row looked very pale, as if they were dead. Lu Qing secretly remembered it and pulled Xianxia, who was looking out of the window, to the second row from the back. He lowered his voice and said, "Did those two guys chase after you?" Xianxia hit him with both anger and amusement. "You still ask?" She thought for a moment and said in a low voice, "One of the boys in my school chased me, but I rejected him. He was actually a good guy, but I just didn't like him." "You like guys like me?" Lu Qing was secretly proud and smiled. "The other one also seems to have a crush on you." "I don't know. Anyway, he didn't mention it. It's good to be seen directly. I hope they can find their own girl soon." Xianxia gave her blessing. In that row of seats, the two boys looked at each other and sighed together. When they returned to the new campus, the night breeze was cool, refreshing and cold. Seeing that it was not yet 9:30 and that he hadn't completely given up on his first kiss today, Lu Qing tried his last effort and said, "It's still early. Let's go for a walk by the lake to digest?" As soon as he finished speaking, he wanted to slap himself. What kind of excuse was this? Dinner had been over for so long. How could he digest it? Furthermore, it wasn't early at this time. Feeling guilty, he didn't dare to look at her. Through her hands, Lu Qing felt that Xianxia's pulse suddenly sped up and slightly trembled. "Are you cold?" he asked with concern. Xianxia lowered her eyes and looked to the side. She answered softly, "Not cold? Well, a walk is good, okay." Lu Qing was pleasantly surprised. He didn't expect the girl to agree. It seemed that she was in a good mood because of the date today. She wanted to stay with him for a while. He took the girl into the road leading to the lake. While chatting, they slowly walked farther and farther along the lake. Gradually there was no one around. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Qing's heartbeat suddenly sped up. He was thinking about what excuse to find and what opportunity to create. This made his mouth dry and tongue dry. He didn't know what to say and fell into an abnormal silence. Xianxia didn't say anything either. She seemed to be enjoying the silence. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Qing's heart beat faster and faster. However, he also heard Xianxia's heart beat faster and faster. He heard, her body couldn't stop trembling. Is she afraid that I will do something bad? Or is she not used to dating in the dark? Lu Qing swallowed his saliva and turned to Xianxia with difficulty. He asked nervously, "Is it too dark here?" After that, he wanted to slap himself again. The street lights were high up. How was it dark? At this moment he saw Xianxia lowered her head. Her cheeks were flushed under the light. She was shy and timid. The girl slightly opened her mouth and said, in a low voice. It was like a small hand scratching Lu Qing's heart. Lu Qing held his breath. He felt that the girl was extremely beautiful. His heart was surging. He pulled her into his arms. A hug shouldn't make her angry, right? He had hugged her before. Xianxia didn't struggle. She leaned into Lu Qing's arms softly. Her long black eyelashes trembled slightly, covering her eyes. Smelling the fragrance of hair and flowers, feeling the girl's delicate body, and looking at this seductive scene, Lu Qing's mind buzzed. Blood rushed to his head. Slowly, he lowered his head and moved closer to the girl's lips. Don't refuse." He prayed silently. Xianxia's eyelids fluttered and slowly closed. Her pretty face was flushed red. Touching skin, Lu Qing's heart beat fast. He was very excited. Xianxia's body was tight at first, then relaxed. She completely snuggled in Lu Qing's arms. The bouquet of flowers in her hand fell to the ground. "You big pervert." After a long time, Xianxia was too shy to look up. She clenched her fist and hit the place where Lu Qing's chest and shoulder met. Lu Qing panted. He was more tired than after beating Wei Xingtian. But he was very satisfied. He was so excited that he felt like he was flying to the sky. He enjoyed the girl's gentle hit. He smiled and didn't respond. He was like an old cat that had stolen a fish. The first kiss was so sweet and beautiful. After a long time, Xianxia slowly calmed down. She still didn't dare to look up. "Let's go back." "Wait a minute. I want to hug you again." Lu Qing replied gently. But his expression was a little embarrassed. The real reason for not going back immediately was that he had set up a tent below. If he moved, it would be exposed immediately. The girl would definitely think that he was a big hooligan with impure thoughts. He thought in distress. He felt that he was wronged. He didn't think about anything just now. He was wholeheartedly thinking about tasting Xianxia's little mouth. He didn't have any dirty thoughts at all. Sigh, I'm in the stage of a young man full of vigor. Because of practicing martial arts, my chi and blood have reached a certain level. It's just a kiss and I've set up a tent for a long time. He bent down, sucked in his stomach and arched his buttocks back. He didn't want the girl to notice the abnormality of his lower body. A sentence that he once saw flashed in his mind. You have to know how to cherish the age when you'll be hard for a long time just by kissing. In order not to arouse the girl's suspicion, he silently prayed to all the gods and Buddhas. With the help of the Jin Dan, he concealed his spirit and chi and visualized the scene of water turning into ice. But this was no longer lake water. It was boiling water. In Xianxia's dormitory, the three girls, Li Liantong, Zhong Yanru, and Shi Xiangyang, returned to their own dormitory after watching The Amazing Wizard in the school cinema and chatting about the plot. Hey, Ka hasn't come back yet? Shi Xiangyang asked in surprise. Li Liantong chuckled and said, it's a date. Besides watching movies and eating, there must be other things to do. Yesterday I specifically told Ku that boys like to suggest going to the lake to enjoy the scenery or to take a walk in the woods. When there's no one around and it's dark and windy at night, they can take advantage of her. I told her not to believe the nonsense of boys and let them take her to those places to kiss and touch her body. Yes. With my reminder, she'll definitely be alert and won't let that guy get what he wants easily. Humph, how dare he not please us? While they were talking, Xianxia pushed open the door and came in with flowers in her hand. Her eyebrows and the corners of her eyes were glowing. She was so beautiful that people didn't dare to look at her directly. Seeing that she was still blushing and her eyes were intoxicating, Li Liantong asked worriedly and nosily, Ku, don't tell me you were still taken to the lake to enjoy the scenery or to take a walk in the woods by that guy? I spent so much effort to teach her. Xianxia's pretty face turned redder. She turned her head and looked to the side. She said firmly, No. We went to the lake to take a walk, not to enjoy the scenery. Li Liantong looked at her suspiciously. Suddenly, her attention was attracted by the colorful gold bracelet on her wrist. She asked curiously, I remember that you don't wear a bracelet when you go out. Did he give it to you? Yes. Xianxia breathed a sigh of relief and looked down at the bracelet. Her eyebrows and the corners of her eyes reappeared. It's quite ordinary. Li Liantong commented with arms crossed. But for a straight man's aesthetic standards, it's not bad to have such standards. Xianxia rubbed the heart-shaped bracelet and smiled. She nodded slightly and said, Yes, I think it's okay. She said to herself silently, Anyway, I like it very much. The most important thing is the thought. Zhong Yanru also smiled and said, It's fine as long as it's not ugly. Ku, you'll have to teach his aesthetic standards slowly in the future. Xianxia pursed her lips and smiled lightly. She didn't say anything. Her right hand touched her lips subconsciously and she recalled the experience just now. Her cheeks burned again and her eyes slightly lost focus as if she was drunk. After sending the girl back to the dormitory, Lu Cheng logged into QQ with his mobile phone and sent her a happy emoji. Then he walked through the pedestrian street with light steps while recalling the sweetness of his first kiss. Life is so beautiful. Chapter 145. After returning to the dormitory of the 7th building, Lu Cheng finally calmed down a little after the cold night wind. He was no longer so excited and intoxicated. When he woke up, he suddenly had a lot of worries. Would this progress be too fast for Xianxia? Would she be unable to accept it? Would she resist it psychologically? Would she think that he was too impatient and focused more on the physical than the emotional level? He had thought about these things before, so the plan of the first kiss was more of a test. When he really succeeded, he was a little worried about the gains and losses. He was afraid that he would ruin the girl's impression of him. But at that moment he really couldn't control himself. He wasn't facing another girl but the girl he loved. She was shy and timid, ready to let him do whatever he wanted. If he couldn't control himself, he would be worse than a beast. Lu Cheng found a corner of the flower bed and sat down. Holding the phone, he thought about whether he should apologize to Xianxia or not. No, apologizing after kissing her is not a man's responsibility. It will make the girl think that I just want to take advantage of her. I need to show a responsible attitude and treat her better. Although there were a lot of comments on the internet such as women can't marry, men can't marry, and sex is normal, Lu Cheng felt that he might be a conservative person who hadn't experienced too many setbacks in society. After holding her hand and kissing her lips, he would think of words like forever, and so on. While he was thinking, his QQ beeped. Xianxia replied to him with a happy emoji and said, I don't talk to you, big pervert. Seeing such a reply, Lu Qing was not surprised but happy. He felt that the girl was more angry than angry. He was relieved and replied with a pitiful expression, I couldn't control myself at the moment. At the moment? Xianxia sent an emoji of rolling its eyes at the sky. Humph, I thought about it carefully. I think you have a premeditated plan. Tell me the truth. Did you have bad intentions when you asked me to take a walk by the lake? How could she see through this? Lu Qing blushed and felt very guilty. He was glad that the girl wasn't with him through the phone. He thought for a while and decided to be honest. He told the girl his thoughts and did not try to hide anything. Yes, not only did I want to kiss you when we went to the lakeside, but I also wanted to kiss you in the movie theater. But I saw that you were too focused on the movie, so I didn't have the heart to disturb you. I couldn't find a chance. Maybe guys are more impulsive and impatient, so they always want to get closer to you. Also, when you accepted my confession, didn't you say that you still needed time to get used to it? That you weren't ready to have another person in your life, and that you weren't at the stage where you especially liked me? I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm just afraid that you'll leave me one day and tell me that I should return to my original position. That's why I'm always eager for more certainty and confirmation. He carefully typed the paragraph and changed a few of the words in order to more accurately describe his feelings. He still remembered Xiaoming's words. In the world of love, it was better to be honest than to hide, and it was better to communicate than to sulk. After sending the message, Xianxia remained silent for a while before replying with 2 words. Idiot? Idiot? Lu Qing was a little confused by her words, but he soon realized what she was implying. Idiot? If I wasn't used to it and wasn't prepared, would I let you kiss me without resistance? Idiot. Do I have to say that I really like you for you to understand? Idiot. Don't let your imagination run wild by yourself. Lu Qing was surprised and happy at the same time. He felt that he had touched the girl's heart. He hurriedly replied, Yes, I'm an idiot, a big idiot. I can clearly feel the changes between us, but I'm still worried and can't believe it. Humph, it's good that you understand. Xianxia sent an emoji of hitting the head and said, I'll forgive you this time, big pervert. Don't kiss me casually in the future. I can't kiss you casually? Lu Qing snickered and regained his composure. He quickly typed, Yes, yes, yes. I won't do it casually. After chatting for a while and confirming the time and place for tomorrow's meal, Xianxia hurriedly urged Lu Qing to wash up when she saw that it was almost 10:30. She didn't want to delay his sleep and affect tomorrow's training. Lu Qing returned to the dormitory while humming a little song. Kai Zhongming jokingly scolded Lu Qing, flushed with success and looking lascivious. When he was ready, he got into bed and picked up his phone to say goodnight to Xianxia. He saw that the girl had sent him 3 voice messages a few minutes ago. Lu Qing opened them in confusion and put the phone to his ear, switching it to the receiver mode. Fu Qing, be my trash can. Just listen and don't answer. Xianxia's soft and clear voice came from the phone. The environment around her seemed to be empty and quiet, mixed with the sound of the wind. She's on the balcony? Lu Qing made a positive judgment and continued to listen. I'm scared. When I give up resistance and choose to accept completely, I'm full of uneasiness about the future. Qing, can we go all the way to the end? Can we hold each other's hands and go through the trials and tribulations one after another, until our hair turns white and we can't speak clearly, and still cuddle together? I'm scared. I'm scared that I'll be defeated by reality in the end when I put my heart and all my feelings into it. I can only watch you go away in pain and melancholy. If that happens, I feel that my heart will be very painful, so painful that it will be like dying. They say that first love can't go all the way to the end. I'm so worried. I'm worried that one day the person who will marry me won't be you. What a nightmare that will be. Okay, I'm done with the negative feelings. I've never thought about things like this before. It's all your fault. Lu Qing listened quietly. He felt that all the voices in the dormitory had faded away. His heart was clear and his eyes were slightly red. He took a breath and didn't listen to Xianxia's words. He made his own answer. I'm scared too. I'm also scared of such a future. But if we don't even have the courage to try, then we're doomed to miss it. Only by trying and working hard can we have hope. I'm working hard to practice martial arts and strengthen myself. I want to be able to grasp my destiny and grasp that opportunity and that hope. Although it's funny to say this at my age, I still have to say this. I have confidence in myself and in my love. I'm destined to be you in this life. After a while, Xianxia sent a scolding emoji. I told you not to reply. Go to sleep, you big pervert. Lu Qing smiled and immediately said, "Good night." "Good night, see you tomorrow?" Xianxia seemed to have forgotten the confession and answered just now. "See you tomorrow." After sending this message, Lu Qing patiently waited for the girl's reply. He had a hunch that the girl would have other replies. After a full 10 minutes, he finally saw Xianxia's new message. "Well, I'll work hard too." After reading the message seriously for a few minutes, Lu Qing's lips curled into a smile as he fell asleep. The next day he followed the routine of morning exercise, special training, shower, change, and then ran to the door of the female locker room and waited for Xianxia to come out. The weather was unusually cold. Xianxia was dressed like a cute bear. When she saw Lu Qing, she snorted and turned her head to the side. She hummed and said, "Pervert. Big pervert." Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. He reached out his left hand and held her delicate palm. Yes, 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 I'm your exclusive pervert." "What are you talking about?" Xianxia didn't expect Lu Qing to be so thick-skinned. She was speechless for a moment and quickly changed the topic. "Let me tell you about the other two roommates. One is called Li Liantong, we all call her Dirty Tong." While talking and laughing, the two left the martial arts arena and walked to the teaching building. They planned to go through there, get on the long bridge and return to the pedestrian street in the dormitory area. They would then go to the academy restaurant to meet Zhong Yanru and the others. As they walked, Lu Qing and Xianxia found a group of people in front of them. They were all looking up at the roof, so they followed them out of curiosity. They were surprised to see a boy they didn't know standing outside the window of the 7th floor, looking down. Jumping off the building. Xianxia held Lu Qing's hand tightly and said in a trembling voice. This was the first time she encountered such a thing. Before Songqing University moved to the new campus, 1 or 2 students jumped off the building every year. After moving here, nothing happened for more than half a year. It was said that the principal once said that the feng shui here was good. He didn't expect that someone would make the first jump today. Lu Qing thought quickly. He took a breath and said to Xianxia, "You stay away. I'll go and take a look." "Okay, be careful." Xianxia understood Lu Qing's idea and reminded him. When Lu Qing approached, he saw the boy's pale face smile and jumped down decisively. "Damn." Lu Qing cursed in his heart. He put strength in his legs and jumped forward to the position he judged. Ignoring the injury on his right arm, he stretched out his hands in the midst of the exclamations. Bang! Under Xianxia's worried gaze, Lu Qing caught the boy who was about to jump off the building. As soon as he touched the boy, his feet suddenly pressed inward, causing cracks to appear on the concrete floor. The violent force bounced back. He straightened his back, lowered his arms, pulled them back and then shook them out. The boy who fell straight down was thrown to a place not far away. His face was full of fear and confusion, as if he had finally woken up from a nightmare. Lu Qing exhaled. He felt that his sneakers were about to be destroyed, and the injury on his right arm was a little more serious. But no matter what, these were not as important as a human life. Seeing the teachers and security guards surrounding them and the onlookers staring at him and the boy who was about to jump off the building, Lu Qing said loudly, "I'm not even afraid of death. What's there to be afraid of?" After saying that, he turned around and left. He met Xianxia outside the 2 schools, hiding his achievements and fame. Chapter 146. Are you okay? Xianxia asked with concern as soon as they met. Lu Qing moved his right arm and smiled bitterly. "I'm fine, but this part seems to be more serious." Xianxia was both amused and annoyed. "You treat it too badly. You keep hurting it. Apologize to it." Seeing that the boy who jumped off the building was successfully saved, her mood was not affected. "I'm sorry. I'll take good care of it later." Lu Qing readily accepted her advice and apologized to his right arm. But in fact, he was assuring Xianxia that he would not force himself to be brave and hurt himself again. Of course, if he really encountered a life-threatening situation, he would still help as long as it was within his power. "Remember what you said." Xianxia looked back at the scene of the jump and sighed. "In fact, there is something wrong with what you said. Some people commit suicide not because they are afraid of death, but because they don't feel any happiness in life. They feel that life is completely dark. For them, no matter how much you remind them, they feel that they deserve to die. Forget it, we don't know why that person did it. You did your best out of kindness. That's great. You don't need to think about other things." Lu Qing was confused and didn't know what to say. Xianxia smiled gently and gracefully. "Because of my cousin's mild autism, I often read about psychology and occasionally talk with their professional teachers. I know that some psychological diseases are not only caused by the mind but also related to the physiological basis. It can't be cured by just talking about it. It must be treated with the corresponding medicine. I think I understand what you mean. Lu Qing nodded thoughtfully. Let's not talk about him. Anyway, we don't know each other. It's better to save a life than to build a 7th-floor pagoda. We don't care about what will happen to him in the future. Xianxia's attitude now was exactly the same as when she persuaded Wang Su. Lu Qing couldn't help thinking that although he had experienced a lot and was rapidly maturing, in fact, Xianxia might be more mature than him in terms of dealing with people. She seemed to have a complete informed 3 views. Yes, let's not talk about him. Let's go eat. Your roommate is still waiting. Don't be late. Lu Qing stopped sighing and said. Xianxia's almond-shaped eyes widened. What? Let's go to the hospital first. Isn't the injury on your arm more serious? It's just a little bit. It's not too late to go after dinner. Lu Qing gestured with his right arm. It's your first time treating your roommates to a meal. You can't just stand them up, right? What if they badmouth me in the future? Humph, if you perform well, it's useless for them to say bad things about you. If you perform poorly, it's useless for them to say good things about you. Shouldn't you focus on pleasing me and listening to me? Xianxia pursed her lips and raised her head. You're right. Lu Qing agreed. However, Xianxia was also a good girl who cared about her reputation. She felt embarrassed to stand her roommate up, so she looked at Lu Qing suspiciously and asked, Are you sure it's only a little bit? I'm sure. I'm a master of meditation and I can use inner vision. Lu Qing said proudly. With his control over the muscles in his body, he had a rough idea of the extent of such injuries. Xianxia snorted and said, I'll accompany you to the hospital after dinner. Yes, I'll listen to you, Coach Yan. Lu Qing answered with a smile. His heart was filled with the joy of saving a life. Because they couldn't go out of school except for weekends and holidays, the business of the Academy restaurant, as the second-to-none Chinese restaurant in the new campus, was quite good. Lu Qing couldn't even book a table in advance. It was all thanks to Zhong Yanru, who didn't have class in the morning and came early to get a small private room, that they didn't have to wait for a number. Lu Qing and Xianxia arrived 2 minutes earlier than agreed. The 3 girls had already gathered and waited for a while. You've seen Zhong Yanru before, so there's no need to introduce her. Xianxia pointed at the petite and quiet girl and said, She's Li Liantong. Don't be fooled by her obedient appearance. Lu Qing didn't expect the dirty Tong Xianxia was talking about to be such a dignified and quiet girl. He was slightly surprised and smiled. Hello, I'm Lu Qing's boyfriend. You don't have to tell us, we all know. Li Liantong joked. Xianxia ignored her and turned to introduce her last roommate to Lu Qing. Xianhuan, surgical killer. Lu Qing saw that the so-called surgical killer was tall, almost as tall as him. Her skin was a healthy wheat color and her eyes were a little blurred because she couldn't focus. He had deep doubts about the girl's ability to come up with nicknames in the dormitory, but on the surface he smiled and said, Hello, I heard that you all know me? He was using Li Liantong's joking to make fun of himself. Xianxia, Li Liantong and Zhong Yanru couldn't help but laugh. Xiangyang obviously didn't get the point and answered blankly, Yes, yes. I'm sitting next to Lu Qing. He hurt his right arm in the challenge tournament, so he's disabled for the time being. He needs my help to make a living. Xianxia pulled Lu Qing to sit down naturally and gracefully. Then she put some food in his bowl. Challenge tournament? Li Liantong asked curiously, Are you the main force of the martial arts club? Yes. Lu Qing admitted frankly. Li Liantong didn't ask further because in her impression, the martial arts club in her school was very weak, and only Lin Ke was strong. Moreover, the martial arts club made a big fuss last semester, but they were eliminated in the group stage. It could be seen that the other members were really weak and the so-called main force was just SOSO. Xiangyang was also not interested in this topic. She first helped Xianxia to order the dishes and then asked with a smile, Lu Qing, I heard from Ku that you were high school classmates? Yes, classmates from the next class. Lu Qing answered honestly without any uneasiness. Only when he cared about the girl he loved would he turn into a fool. Zhong Yanru followed up and asked, Ku should be a famous person in your school, right? Of course, I don't know. Lu Qing wanted to describe how many boys deliberately passed by Xianxia's class, but the girls secretly pinched him, so he could only stop abruptly. Did you have a little crush on her at that time? Li Liantong gossiped about the details with bright eyes. Lu Qing said with a smile, More than a little. His answer immediately attracted Xianxia's eyes, But the three girls became more excited. Xianxia said with a smile, "So you had a little crush on our Ku for a long time. Then you joined the martial arts club because of her? You wanted to get close to her?" "Wanted" is not quite accurate. I should say, deliberately. Lu Cheng smiled and made fun of himself again. Oh. The three girls made meaningful sounds, which made Xianxia roll her eyes at Lu Cheng again. But when she wanted to pinch his hand, he turned over and held it in his palm, gently rubbing it. "Not bad." Li Liantong praised Lu Cheng's cooperation and asked, "Then you got Ku's contact and started to pursue her?" "At that time, I didn't dare to reveal my intention to pursue her, so I could only chat with her as an old classmate." Lu Cheng chuckled. Zhong Yanru suddenly understood. "I was wondering why Ku always took out her phone to chat." Before she could finish, Xianxia reached out and covered her mouth. The two of them laughed and joked. The dishes were served one after another. They began to chat while eating. As for the gossip, Lu Cheng would say what he could, but he would never say what he couldn't. With the help of others' curiosity, he and Xianxia reminisced about the details of the past. The more they ate, the more heartwarming and tasty the meal became. At the end of the meal, the three girls finally stopped and picked up their phones to reply to the messages. "Hey, someone jumped off a building just now. The first jump in the new campus." Li Liantong suddenly exclaimed. What? Zhong Yanru and Shi Xiangyang asked in surprise. Li Liantong said, "Cabbage, look at the class group. Ruru, you should be able to see it when you browse the school forum." Because Shi Xiangyang always liked to say that girls were fragrant, soft, and fair, and was also a little white mouse and little white rabbit killer, she was usually very muddle-headed, so Li Liantong gave her another nickname, Cabbage. "We happened to meet on the way here." Xianxia asked curiously, "Did they say why they jumped off the building? Why didn't you say so earlier?" Li Liantong stared at the screen and said, "They're from the management school." According to his roommate, he was from an ordinary family but was greedy for money. He borrowed a small amount of money and the interest was getting higher and higher. Because he was forced to repay the debt, he cheated a lot of his classmates. In the end, he couldn't pay the debt and wanted to commit suicide by jumping off the building. This kind of person is a scourge in the world. Lu Cheng and Xianxia looked at each other. They didn't expect such a situation. At least you helped those classmates find someone to repay their debt. His parents also didn't have to bear the pain of losing their son while facing a huge debt. Xianxia leaned towards Lu Cheng's ear and comforted him. She didn't want him to feel unhappy about saving such a person. Lu Cheng exhaled and said, "Just treat it as helping his parents? Hey, he was saved by someone? That's good. Every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor." Li Liantong, Zhong Yanru, and Shi Xiangyang started to discuss this matter. After a rather enjoyable lunch, Xianxia escorted Lu Cheng to the school hospital. "Actually, you don't have to go. The first class in the afternoon is about to start. Maybe I'll be sent to the city to take an X-ray later," Lu Cheng said to the girl who felt sorry for him. Xianxia snorted and said, "How can there be a lack of truancy in university? I didn't expect that the first truancy in my life would be like this." At this moment, Lu Cheng's phone rang. He took it out and saw that it was from his teacher. Teacher sure? He vaguely guessed why it was from him. "Not bad. Now you know how to save people." Geezer sure joked. "How's your hand? Is it okay?" At that time, with that kind of skill, he could guess that it was Lu Cheng who saved him. Lin Kei had to rest and didn't come to the martial arts club these 2 days. "It's a little serious," Lu Cheng answered honestly. "Come to my place. I'll do acupuncture and give you some ointment. The doctors in your school hospital can only treat colds and colds." Geezer sure said sarcastically. "Okay. Where do you live?" Lu Cheng didn't want to go to the city hospital to take an X-ray. After taking down Geezer Sher's address, he quickly told Xianxia about it. "Then I'll go back to class." Xianxia was relieved and said with a smile, "Bye-bye. I'll wait for you at the usual place tonight." Lu Cheng smiled and waved his hand. The usual place was Xianxia. They were going to have dinner together. Xianxia turned around and walked 2 steps. She suddenly turned back and said with a smile, "Cheng, when you saved people just now, well, you were so cool." After saying that, she quickly turned her head and left with light footsteps. "So cool." Lu Cheng touched his chin proudly and watched the girl go away. On the way back to their dormitory, Shi Xiangyang asked Li Liantong, "Dirty Tong, what do you think of Lu Cheng? Is he good enough for Ko?" Li Liantong thought for a while and said, "He's quite generous and witty. He looks more mature than the boys in the same grade. It's not bad that you Ru and I can find a boyfriend like him. But I still think he's not good enough for Ko." I think he's okay. Zhong Yinru had a good impression of Lu Qing. Li Liantong shook her head and said, he's not handsome enough. He can't make a living with his looks. I've also observed his clothes and shoes. They're just ordinary brands. They can't be considered good. In other words, his family background can only be considered average. I heard that his grades are only average. I don't think he's not good enough. I just think a girl like Ku deserves someone much better than him. I think so too. But it's really hard to calculate the relationship. Shi Xiangyang sighed. After returning to the dormitory, Zhong Yinru took her and Yanjika's textbooks and hurried to the teaching building. Li Liantong turned on her computer and browsed the school forum with great interest to see if there was any news about the suicide incident. Shi Xiangyang went to bed and planned to take a nap to prepare for the second class in the afternoon. After browsing for a while, Li Liantong's eyes suddenly lit up when she saw a post. Live video. It's great to have strong martial arts. It's a video of a rescue? Li Liantong clicked on it immediately. She saw a figure pouncing out when the boy was falling from the high ground. He was as agile as a fierce tiger. In an instant he arrived nearby and reached out to catch the jumper. At this moment, as the figure moved his feet, cracks suddenly appeared on the concrete floor. Then, without knowing how he used his strength, he actually turned the fall into a horizontal throw, allowing the jumper to land safely on the ground. This caused Li Liantong to open her eyes wide. She felt a deep shock as she experienced the beauty of the tyrannical strength of the body. It wasn't that she had never seen a fight between mighty ones with physical invulnerability. But flames and lightning were too far away from real life. Breaking stones and so on also lacked the visual impact. Relatively speaking, it didn't make her feel that much. But just now, it was a real person jumping off a building. This was something that could often be heard and seen in real life. Seeing a boy catch the jumper safely as an ordinary person, she was simply shocked. She couldn't help but admire the strong. So awesome, so manly. Which school is he from? Li Liantong moved the mouse and rewatched the video with great interest. She was suddenly stunned because of the familiar clothes and shoes. It's him? Li Liantong stared at the video blankly until it ended for a long time. When Lu Qing arrived at the teacher's apartment where Shi lived, he saw a mess of cups and plates and garbage everywhere, which perfectly fit the image of a lonely and lazy old man. After expressing his concern about his master's living situation, he was about to speak when he heard Shi say with a dry laugh, "A few old friends came and I didn't have time to clean up." Old friends? Lu Qing asked casually. Yes, old friends that I haven't seen for more than 10 years. Hey, in order to break through to the forbidden area, he actually thought of searching for the relics left by ancient cultivators. He wanted to be inclusive and learn by analogy. Shi laughed. He said that there might be a Xianhu immortal's relic nearby. Lu Qing was stunned and almost couldn't control his heartbeat. Chapter 147. Immortal Cultivation? Is that true? Lu Qing disguised his shock as surprise. Shi pushed away the junk on the sofa and said, "Of course, but it's different from what you see on TV or in novels. It's not as scary as in myths and legends. Most of those myths and legends belong to top physical invulnerability experts or forbidden mighty ones." I see. Lu Qing took the opportunity to ask about his doubts. What's the difference? In the beginning they were also a part of the martial artists. But because of their different starting points, they had a different understanding of the body, the spirit, and the illusory soul and embarked on a different path. Alas, in the end they still couldn't break through the shackles. Why are you asking so many questions? Shi said impatiently, "Give me your right hand." I'm just curious. Lu Qing smiled awkwardly and slowly raised his right hand. Shi extended 3 fingers and placed them on his pulse. His half-closed eyes glowed with a faint blue light. He then pinched the wound and said, "Fortunately you can't be a one-armed hero. You don't even need acupuncture. Take this ointment and apply it. After a week you'll be able to start practicing your strength." A week from today? Lu Qing asked for confirmation. In other words, his remaining 3.5 days of recovery had been extended to a week? Isn't that obvious? Shi glared at him. Go do what you need to do. After leaving the classroom apartment and the building, Lu Qing's face slowly darkened. The unexpected news from his master had put a heavy psychological burden on him. I wonder if Xianhu Immortal is the original owner of the Jindan in my stomach. I wonder if Master's friends can find the immortal cultivator's mansion hidden in Weishui Lake. I wonder if they can find clues and trace it back to me. When I threw the black carp back into the lake, if it hadn't completely rotted and been eaten by other creatures, the traces would be obvious. But there are tens of thousands of students in the new campus, and more than half a year has passed. No matter how strong the supernatural ability is, they won't be able to suspect me from the black carp. I can't rush or panic lest I give myself away. I'll pretend I don't know anything and live my life as usual. Well, I'll find a chance to squeeze the Jindan and see if I can awaken the supernatural ability of frost. That way, even if I'm found and the Jindan is taken away, I'll have something of my own. For Master's sake, they won't do anything to me. The reason why he wanted to awaken the supernatural ability of frost instead of strengthening the power of flame was because his master's martial arts belonged to the unique ice sect. If he had the supernatural ability of frost, it would be much easier for him to practice. After making the decision, Lu Qing had more or less regained his composure. This was the best he could do with his own abilities. After pocketing the ointment, he grabbed the martial arts suit and other items that he did not put back in the dormitory with his right hand and rushed straight to the third teaching building. As for the books and other things, he had already asked Xiao Ming to help him bring them, just in case. At this moment his phone rang. He took it out and saw that it was a call from Kai Zongming. F***CK, don't tell me they're taking attendance in advance? Lu Qing picked up the call in shock. Qing, you're so F***king awesome. Kai Zongming scolded him without hesitation. Lu Qing was confused. What's wrong with me? You're still pretending? That's what you get for pretending. Someone posted the video. I don't know about others, but I'll recognize you even if you turn into ashes. Kai Zongming scolded him. Video? Lu Qing roughly understood what talker was talking about. He blurted out, who would take videos at that time? Kai Zongming chuckled. You're not new to the internet. Don't you know that some people will take a few selfies and post them on Weibo, talk about it, or moments? It's their instinct to take pictures and videos when they encounter a situation. But they probably didn't expect someone to catch them, so the focus is on the boy who jumped off the building. You're a little blurry in the picture and you don't show your face much. People who aren't familiar with you probably won't recognize you. Do you need me, an insider, to expose you? He said excitedly, you're so awesome. You can catch someone who jumped off the 7th floor. I'm a little impressed and I'm looking forward to it. Qing, you're famous in school. I heard a lot of students talking about you on the way. They think you're so cool and they're all looking forward to becoming a professional martial artist. Okay, I'll stop talking. Professor Chu is here. I think he's going to take a roll call. Hurry up. There aren't a lot of people today. I don't dare to answer for you. Lu Qing was happy at first, but he was stunned by the end of the conversation. Talker, put your head in front of me later. Why? Kai Zongming was puzzled. I'm going to strangle you. Lu Qing gritted his teeth. I would have arrived if you hadn't called me. The teacher's apartment was not far from the teaching building. With his current running speed and insane stamina, he could reach the third teaching building in 2 or 3 minutes. But he didn't have the ability to answer a call while running. Kai Zongming was silent for a few seconds. Good luck. After that he quickly hung up the phone. Xianxia took a beautiful afternoon nap. When she heard the alarm, she turned over and sat up. After tidying up for a while, she slowly climbed out of bed and said to Li Liantong, who was watching cartoons, Dirty Tong, it's almost time to go. Okay. Li Liantong turned off the computer and tidied her hair. She picked up the book beside her and was about to leave. Xianxia looked at her in surprise. Aren't you going to wash up? Why are you in such a hurry? I'm confused. Li Liantong laughed dryly. She put down the book and rushed to the bathroom. Xianxia followed behind and wondered to herself, why does Dirty Tong look like she's in shock? She shook her head. After she was done, she asked with concern, Dirty Tong, are you okay? No, I'm fine. Li Liantong answered firmly. Xianxia was always carefree, so she didn't take it to heart. But on the way to the teaching building, she noticed that Li Liantong looked like she wanted to say something but didn't. Dirty Tong, are you really okay? Xianxia felt that if she could be so sure that there was something wrong with Dirty Tong, then there must be something wrong. Li Liantong opened her mouth and sighed. You'll know in a while. Know in a while? Xianxia was confused. She felt like her heart was being scratched by a cat. But Li Liantong was like a seasoned warrior. She didn't reveal anything in the face of torture. After entering the classroom, the two sat down next to their good friends. Yang, have you seen that video? The girl named Dong Mingshan asked Xianxia nosily. What video? Xianxia was even more confused. Didn't someone jump off a building at noon? I don't know who took the video. The boy who saved the girl was so cool and powerful. I want to go to the martial arts club to practice martial arts to strengthen my body. Dong Mingshan said excitedly. Ba, you're not going to the martial arts club to practice martial arts. You're going to find a boy who practices martial arts, right? Sure, Xiangyang said sarcastically. She took the phone Dong Mingshan handed to her and clicked on the video. He can even take that? There's no flame or lightning. Sure, Xiangyang watched the video again. He's really cool. She was stunned and turned to look at Li Liantong, who was too quiet. She finally understood why she was so abnormal. Was him? In the evening, Lu Qing waited for Xianxia at the entrance of the long bridge. He reached out his left hand and held the girl's cold little hand, passing his warmth to her. Xianxia looked at him with a faint smile and said, Qing, you've become famous in our school. Several girls in our class praised you for being so handsome when you saved the girl. They were guessing which leading member of the martial arts club or a mysterious master who didn't join the club. Are you proud and happy? Yes, I'm proud and happy. Lu Qing wanted to answer in this way, but he felt it was wrong. So he said with a smile, I was very proud and happy when you said I was handsome. Xianxia raised her head slightly and said with a smile in her eyes, Liar. It can't be more true. Lu Qing was telling the truth just now, but he didn't say part of it. Seeing the girl's happy reaction, he felt lucky. He vaguely felt that he had almost fallen into her trap. Humph, I believe you. Xianxia put on a I pity you look and then said with a blush, I'm telling you, don't kiss me casually in the future. Why did she emphasize this again? Lu Qing changed his mind and said with a pitiful look, but I always want to be closer to you. I think kissing between lovers is a very beautiful thing, at least that's what I feel. Xianxia humphed. That's what you get for sticking your tongue out. Lu Qing suddenly realized that the girl didn't object to a normal kiss. She didn't push him away at that time. But she kept clenching her teeth and was forced to open by him. And she forced herself out of his arms as soon as they touched. I'm wrong, Coach Yen. I was impulsive. Lu Qing hurriedly admitted his mistake. Humph, if it weren't for the fact that you didn't hold me down and push me away, I would have ignored you. Xianxia slightly pouted and suddenly sighed. She lowered her head and said in a low voice, Qing, I know that boys and girls have different cognition on some things. I hope you can respect my opinion. Well, let's get along well. This could be considered as the first small conflict since we started dating. Fortunately, she spoke out frankly and didn't keep it in her heart. Otherwise, I wouldn't know where I went wrong. And small conflicts could easily accumulate into big conflicts. Lu Qing was a little grateful. He also liked the girl's attitude of trying to communicate rather than sulking. Therefore, he said sincerely in a humorous way, You don't need to do that. Coach Yen is right. Everything is up to Coach Yen. Xianxia was amused and chuckled. The sigh just now disappeared without a trace. You have to remember this. She took Lu Qing's hand and trotted. Go get a seat or there will be no seats left. Okay. Lu Qing was full of joy and followed the girl to the canteen. The next morning, when Geezer Shi left after the first training, Lu Qing found a secluded place facing Weishui Lake and started his supernatural ability awakening plan. Chapter 148. Bang, bang, bang. Lu Qing only used his left hand, alternating between abrupt punch and flick finger to release flames to deplete the heat flow in his body. After a full 5 minutes, he finally felt the heat flow that had fused into the fine parts of his body dry up. The jindan in his lower abdomen began to expand and contract, slowly rotating and splitting into strands of power. This power balanced ice and fire, quickly soothing Lu Qing's fatigue, but it didn't help replenish the heat flow. Lu Qing knew it was a critical moment. He endured the involuntary spasms and strange exhaustion of his body and continued to activate his supernatural ability. He shook his left arm again and punched forward with abrupt punch. Bang! Amid the vigorous and hurried sound, his mind suddenly buzzed. He automatically fell into a strange state of inward vision, reflecting the jindan that was like a miniature starry sky. With a whoosh, Lu Qing saw a star fly out from the surface of the starry sky, shaking out a flame. Then he felt his palms slightly hot. His eyes were filled with flames, and a layer of crimson appeared on the surface of the lake. The crimson flame struggled for a while before finally extinguishing slowly. Unlike the time when he fought Yi Yaoding, he was now using his supernatural ability to release the power of the jindan without reservation. He wasn't using his internal force to attack the enemy through visualization, so his performance was relatively more exaggerated. When the rolling flames dissipated, the surface of the lake was calm again, except for a few floating dead branches and leaves. Inside Lu Cheng's body, the jiandan suddenly shrank and threw out another ice crystal to achieve balance. The ice crystal quickly expanded into a cold current, sweeping through his blood vessels and meridians, and spreading to every corner of Lu Cheng's body. At this moment, Lu Cheng felt completely frozen like an ice sculpture. Even his heartbeat slowed down. Damn, the backlash is still so scary, he thought sluggishly. After an unknown period of time, he suddenly heard the thumping of his heartbeat. It was like the sound of thunder that bid farewell to the ice and woke him up from his frozen state of mind. Immediately after, Lu Cheng felt his heart beating vigorously, spurting out blood that was full of vitality. The blood flowed throughout his body, dispelling the coldness. The marrow inside his bones cooperated with this process. In less than a minute, Lu Cheng was completely freed from his frozen state. He could feel the benefits of his body becoming stronger. Furthermore, he could clearly sense that after resisting and fusing with the frost, his physical fitness had vaguely improved to a certain extent. Come to think of it, when he first awakened his fire ability, there was also such a change. It was just that he had neglected this point due to his high fever and weakness. No wonder the strength of his physical body had exceeded his expectations in the past month. Yet this was also very normal. His own body was already able to adapt to the scorching flow of fire, so it would be unreasonable if it didn't improve at all. Lu Cheng thought for a moment and felt his body was still weak. Cold seeped continuously from his bones, making him shiver. He just wanted to wrap himself in layers of thick quilts. Compared to the feeling of being on the verge of death last time, this time, it only reminded him of the experience of being sick when he was young. Turning around, Lu Cheng took out the down jacket he had prepared and began to examine himself. He wanted to see if he had awakened the supernatural ability of frost. He wanted to see if the frost and flames would cancel each other out, resulting in the tragedy of returning to the state before the release. While he was inspecting, he suddenly exclaimed in surprise and joy. The cold flow and the hot flow mixed with each other, forming a delicate balance that blended into the fine details of his body. Taking a deep breath, Lu Cheng shook his left arm abruptly and used 1-inch punch again. At the same time, he activated the cold flow of frost. Bam! There was no thin ice or snowflakes on the surface of his fist. Lu Cheng wasn't disappointed. Instead, he fell into deep thought. After a moment of silence, he suddenly slapped the nearest boulder with his palm. Bam! He pressed his palm against the boulder and slowly lifted it, revealing a patch of cold white frost that outlined the shape of his left hand. Seeing the white frost melting rapidly, Lu Cheng nodded thoughtfully. He had a rough idea of how to use the supernatural ability of frost. Currently, it wasn't strong enough to be released externally. However, it could be infused with his own strength, allowing his punches and kicks to be infused with frost. There was no need for additional ignition actions. Different supernatural abilities had different characteristics. This kind of frost wouldn't be of much use in actual combat for the time being. However, Lu Cheng believed that when it was mixed with the similar force of the ice sect, it would have a surprising effect. Phew. When my arm recovers next week, I'll report to Master that I've awakened the supernatural ability of frost. Let's see how he reacts and what plans he has. Lu Cheng tightened his down jacket, picked up the bag and walked to the cafeteria, shivering. He urgently needed a cup of hot milk. As for the second wave of awakening, Lu Cheng didn't dare to try it for the time being. So far, it had only affected the surface of the jiandan. If he lost control again, it was very likely that it would affect the insides of the jiandan. The power and backlash would be far greater than before. It was better to wait until his body reached a certain limit and his martial arts level stepped into the danchi stage before making a decision. In the cafeteria, Lu Cheng carried the hot porridge, steamed buns, eggs, and milk to the table where he and xianxia usually ate together. Their backs were against the supporting pillars, creating a relatively quiet environment with few people. He put down the plate and took a sip of the milk. He felt the warmth flowing down his throat, soothing his stomach and reducing the coldness in his body. So comfortable. Lu Cheng sighed with satisfaction and took another sip of the hot porridge. At this moment, he saw xianxia walking over with a plate from the corner of his eye. There were soy milk, fried dough sticks, and white steamed buns on the plate. The girl's charming figure was like a scenery in the cafeteria. "Hey Cheng, you're done so early today?" Xianxia was quite surprised to see her boyfriend at this time. Then she found that Lu Cheng's condition was not right. She hurriedly asked with concern, "Are you sick?" No. Lu Cheng's shivering had eased a lot. He smiled and said, "Let me tell you a secret." He felt warm because he and xianxia had tacitly chosen this table at the same time. To be able to meet like this in several cafeterias, among the endless stream of students, it was not just fate. Xianxia put down the plate and sat beside Lu Cheng. She looked at him suspiciously and said, "What secret? You don't look well. Shall I accompany you to see a doctor?" Lu Cheng leaned close to her ear and said in a low voice, "I wanted to practice my supernatural ability this morning, so I tried it by the lake. When I was about to reach the limit, I suddenly awakened the supernatural ability of frost. My face looks bad because of the backfire, but it's much better than last time. It's not a big deal." He saw that under the invasion of his breath, the girl's ears gradually turned red, crystal clear and cute. "You awakened your supernatural ability again?" Xianxia's pink lips were half open, showing her white teeth. Her clear eyes were full of surprise and confusion, looking like a dazed girl. "I don't know why. Maybe it's the way of balance between ice and fire. I don't think there will be any awakening in the future," Lu Cheng explained. To be honest, every time he lied to the girl he felt a little guilty. But the matter of the Jindan was related to his life. Telling her would only put pressure on her and make her feel uneasy. "I hope to digest the Jindan as soon as possible and let the power truly belong to me. Then I won't feel guilty." Xianxia had seen too many miracles from her boyfriend, so she quickly recovered and blurted out, "Why are you practicing your supernatural ability for no reason? Even if you want to practice, you should do it in front of Coach Sure. If the backfire is too serious, there will be someone to help you. Something happens to you, I. As she spoke, her eyes suddenly turned red, and there seemed to be waves of light on the surface of her eyes. Lu Cheng gently bit his lower lip, reached out his hand and held the girl's soft hand. "I won't do it next time. I'll take good care of myself. I'll consider more thoroughly." At this moment he felt a sense of responsibility. His life no longer belonged to himself and his family. Xianxia took a breath, suddenly shook off his hand and hummed, "Do you want to freeze me to death? Your hand is so cold." "It's the residue of the supernatural ability of frost. It can help you relieve the heat in summer." Lu Cheng smiled fawningly. Xianxia calmed down, raised her eyebrows slightly and asked curiously, "You don't need to light the fire?" "I don't need the supernatural ability of frost. Wherever I want to be cold, it'll be cold," Lu Cheng said with a little pride. Xianxia pushed the freshly made hot soy milk to him, pursed her lips and smiled. "Then you can cool it down. It's too hot. I can't eat it." "Okay." Lu Cheng held the soy milk cup with his left hand, operating a weak cold current. There seemed to be a change in his body. It was constantly producing frost, maintaining a delicate balance with flame. After a while, Lu Cheng breathed a sigh of relief and took his hand away. There was a layer of frost on the surface of the soy milk cup, but it disappeared in a flash. "The temperature should be okay." He touched the cup and gave it to Xianxia, waiting for her evaluation. Xianxia took a sip, nodded and smiled. "It's just right. Your supernatural ability is quite useful." Lu Cheng didn't expect to use his supernatural ability first, but he felt a sense of achievement. At least he had coaxed the girl into a happy mood. "It's good that you like it." He smiled and said, "By the way, have you finished watching the video sent by Coach Sure yesterday? The video was about the opponent in the weekend preliminaries." "Finished? What about you?" Speaking of this, Xianxia suddenly became excited. She was the first substitute and had a chance to go on stage. Lu Cheng's shivering had stopped, but his body was still a little weak. He smiled and said, "Of course I finished watching. And I also found out something else." Although he couldn't go on stage because it was related to Xianxia, he worked harder than if he went on stage himself. "What is it?" Xianxia asked curiously. Lu Cheng chuckled and said, "Don't underestimate Dream Squad just because it's an amateur team. Their players are all second or third generation martial artists. Especially the three main players of amateur first pin. They all have high-ranked Dan stage elders in their families. They are the top group in Songqing's martial arts circle." Xianxia didn't have any fear of high-ranked Dan stage martial artists. She said with interest, "And then?" She drank a mouthful of soy milk and took a bite of the deep-fried dough stick. She looked at Lu Cheng like a child listening to a story. "You may not believe it, but they formed the Dream Squad to participate in the preliminaries because of jealousy. Jiang Dingy and Feng Xiaoquan both liked Chen Ruoyu, who grew up together. They almost turned against each other. But Chen Ruoyu's attitude was very ambiguous. She didn't say anything. In the end, she pulled them to gather friends and formed a squad. She said it was to see who would perform better in this preliminaries." Lu Cheng said. Xianxia almost spat out the soy milk. She covered her mouth and said, "Is there anyone who is so picky? I feel like she is still a little girl. She is older than you by half a year. You are the little girl." Lu Qing laughed. "Humph, it depends on the mental age." Xianxia wrinkled her nose and asked in confusion, "How do you know all this?" "There is a local in our dormitory. He is quite well informed. I asked him specifically." Lu Qing told her the truth. For Coach Yen, he had done his homework. Xianxia's eyes curved, showing her dimples. She looked to the side and said, "At least you didn't forget me." Lu Qing finished the steamed bun quickly and drank the milk. He continued, "Qian Ruoyu's family's martial arts originated from Tai Chi, which is similar to your grandfather's. Jiang Dingyi's grandfather is famous for his knife skills. But because weapons are not allowed in the challenge tournament, he created a martial art that uses the knife skills in the palm. Feng Xiaoquan is good at the tiger and crane double form and the modern blast punch. I watched the videos and thought I could imitate them. I will talk to Coach Shi during this time. I will be your sparring partner for half an hour at the end of the special training every day so that you can get used to their fighting style." Xianxia puffed up her cheeks and looked to the side with a blush. Okay. She didn't object to the sparring partner during the daily special training. They talked and ate breakfast and gradually came to an end. Suddenly Xianxia looked at the big clock in the cafeteria and exclaimed, "It's almost 8 o'clock. We are going to be late." "Yeah." Lu Qing followed her gaze and saw that it was already 7:54. Xianxia was so angry that she pinched him gently. "It's all your fault. I'm not usually late." Lu Qing smiled and felt sweet. He held her hand and said, "Hurry up, we still have time." The two left in a hurry and ran to the martial arts arena. They finally arrived at the arena with less than 10 seconds to spare. Xianxia caught her breath and glanced at Lu Qing. Their eyes met and she felt warm and sweet at once. Even if it was just a small thing, she felt so happy. In the next few days, Lu Qing lived his life step by step, except that he was Xianxia's sparring partner. As for the cave of Longhu Immortal, he didn't hear Geezer Shi mention it again, but he didn't dare to ask about it. In the blink of an eye, Saturday came. Songqing University Martial Arts Club was going to host the Dream Squad at 3:00 p.m. Because it was just actual combat training and there was no professional main force this time, Songqing University's publicity department didn't do any promotion for this competition and didn't inform the whole school. The audience was expected to be very small. Lu Qing took a nap and was about to go to Xianxia's dormitory building to go to the martial arts arena with her when he suddenly received a call from Geezer Shi. "Brat, something came up and I can't come this afternoon." Geezer Shi said casually, "You will be the coach today." "What? I will be the coach?" Lu Qing was shocked. Geezer Shi laughed and said, "In this kind of competition you can even tie a dog to be the coach. What are you afraid of?" "Okay, I'm hanging up. You can arrange the order of appearance at your discretion." "Master, don't be so irresponsible." Lu Qing was about to say something when he heard the beeping sound. "Damn, I am a wounded person. How did I become the coach?" He was at a loss and suddenly thought of something. Could it be that his friend had discovered the Longhu Immortal's cave and had invited him to help out? Chapter 149. The more Lu Qing thought about it, the more he felt his guess was close to the truth. But being able to guess and being able to intervene were two different things. How could he get involved in the affairs of top physical invulnerability experts? All he could do was to be patient and wait for the result. He didn't want to panic. He exhaled and pushed this matter to the back of his mind. He packed up and was about to leave. It was the weekend. Zhang Jingya was dating his girlfriend Wu Qian. Qiu Zhigao was said to be training his muscles in the strength training room of the martial arts club. Only Lu Qing and Zhao Chang were left in the small dormitory. Seeing him leaving, Zhao Chang looked away from the computer and said with a smile, "Qing, how's your injury? Can you fight?" "I can't even do recovery exercises, let alone fight." Lu Qing smiled bitterly. "That's because you need to save people. You're Superman Qing in our dormitory." Zhao Chang joked. "Since you can't fight, I won't watch the game. It's boring." Lu Qing wasn't surprised at all. It was an amateur competition without much publicity. It would be strange if it could arouse people's interest. But it was good. With few spectators, senior brother Li Mao wouldn't be so nervous. "Well, you can be a real fan." Lu Qing joked and walked out of the small dormitory with his bag. After the cold current backfire, he realized that he lacked a thermos. Usually, he would drink water from the water dispenser with a paper cup when he was in the martial arts club or the teaching building. But when he returned to the dormitory, he only had an open ceramic cup. In Xianxia's words, he lived too coarsely and deserved to be called a coarse man. Hey Qing, you're early. Kai Zongming just came out of the bathroom. It's late. I have to pick up my girlfriend. Lu Qing smiled. Kai Zongming twitched his mouth. Hey, you're calling her your girlfriend? I learned it from you. Lu Qing answered with a smile. Kai Zongming said disdainfully, I understand now. You're setting off early so that you can take the opportunity to be lovey-dovey for a while. Sai, back in the days when we were paired up, we went in and out together and ate together. Now those guys are saying that I was abandoned. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh at little Ming's self-deprecation. I can't help it. I choose my girlfriend over my friends. He said it with unusual pride, without the slightest bit of shame. Kai Zongming was so embarrassed that he couldn't refute. He said, Qing, you've become more thick-skinned since you got a girlfriend. I'll come to the martial arts club to cheer for you. After all, I'm a member of the special training. By the way, talker, how's your special training? Lu Qing asked casually. Kai Zongming had a look of, I really want to hit you on his face. Qing, we're all members of the special training team. We train together every day. You didn't ask me until today. Don't you feel guilty? Guilty conscience. Lu Qing replied with a hollow laugh. Kai Zongming put on a proud expression and said, after 10 days of special training, I feel like I've returned to my peak state. Plus, you've stimulated me so I've calmed down and touched the threshold of meditation. In 1 or 2 months, I'll probably be able to control the concealment of spirit and chi and master 24 blizzard strikes. By summer vacation, maybe I'll be able to reach the 3rd pin of the amateur level and return to my hometown to show off. Not bad. Maybe you'll be a substitute next semester. Lu Qing looked at the time on his phone. I'm leaving. See you later. Kai Zongming heard his perfunctory farewell and said angrily, see you my ass. In the female dormitory, Xianxia changed into her martial arts suit. She didn't have to go to the male locker room. Although there was a shower stall, it would make a girl feel uncomfortable. The female locker room was given to the visiting team. Seeing her ready, Zhong Yanru asked curiously, Ku, is your boyfriend coming today? Li Liantong and Shi Xiangyang, who were playing games and watching movies, stopped at the same time and pricked up their ears. How is that possible? The injury on his arm hasn't healed yet. Xianxia answered without much care. Li Liantong blurted out, did he hurt himself again that day when he was saving someone? Xianxia was stunned. Her beautiful black eyebrows slightly wrinkled. You all know? Li Liantong and Shi Xiangyang looked at each other and said angrily, we're not blind. We just met at noon that day. How could we not recognize the person in the video? We just wanted to see when you would tell us the truth. But in the end, you didn't even mention it for a whole week. You didn't talk about this topic, so I didn't have a chance to mention it. Xianxia said with a slight grievance. She couldn't just show off how awesome her boyfriend was, right? That wouldn't be good. I think you don't have time. You give him all your free time. When you're back in the dormitory, you're still chatting with your phone. You can't wait to be with him 24 hours a day. Li Liantong laughed. Ku, you have to hold on. Don't lose your virginity too quickly. For guys, the easier it is to get, the less they will cherish it. Bah? I don't talk to dirty people. Xianxia laughed and scolded. Thinking back, it seemed to be true. But she didn't resist at all. Instead, she felt sweet. Plus, she had to do martial arts special training every day. She had to attend classes and do homework seriously. The time she had to spend with Cheng was actually very little. She had to squeeze out some free time, so she subconsciously cherished it. Shi Xiangyang interrupted. Ku, since your boyfriend and Lin Ke are both injured, will you fight today? It depends on the condition of the other senior brothers and sisters. I have a chance. Xianxia chose her words carefully so as not to curse Li Mao and the others. Zhong Yanru immediately said happily, then we'll go to the martial arts club later and cheer for you. Maybe you'll fight? Li Liantong and Shi Xiangyang both agreed and fantasized about Xianxia's heroine appearance. After chatting with her roommates for a while, Xianxia saw a message from Lu Qing saying that he had arrived. She quickly packed her things and hurried out. A perfect match. Looking at her back, Li Liantong sighed with emotion. Zhong Yanru joked. Dirty Tong, that's not what you said before. Isn't that because I don't know him well enough? Li Liantong said shamelessly. He has such a level of martial arts at such a young age. His future is really limitless. Also, he has a good personality and is even better to his girlfriend. I agree with him dating Ku with both hands and feet. Outside the 3rd dormitory building, Lu Qing saw the girl walking out briskly. A smile unconsciously appeared on his face. He walked up to her, took the bag and held her delicate hand. The whole process was done in one go. He had been trained for a long time. Xianxia looked at him with a smile. Cheng, Dirty Tong and the others recognized that the boy who saved her was you. They seem to worship you a little. Why does this sound a little strange? Lu Qing smiled cautiously. That's because they haven't seen much of the world. After saying that, he quickly changed the topic. Coach sure has something to do and can't come this afternoon. He asked me to arrange the match for him. Ah. Xianxia opened her mouth slightly. She seemed to be at a loss and didn't understand what had happened. After dozens of seconds, she couldn't help but laugh. Coach sure is so capricious. Cheng, you're the real Coach Lu. Not the real one. I still have a grand coach above me. Lu Qing laughed. As for who it was, it definitely wasn't Coach Sure. Xianxia turned her head and coughed twice. She pretended to be serious. Then what do you plan to do? I've thought about it. If Senior Li Mao is the last to fight, he will be more nervous. He will feel that he is responsible for the success or failure of the martial arts club. But if he is the first to fight, he will most likely want to make a good start. So, I put him second. This way the pressure will be the least. Lu Qing explained his thoughts. At the same time, he was glad that he had carefully studied the videos of Dream Squad for the girl. He wouldn't just shake his head and say that he didn't know anything about the enemy. Not bad. It's the same as what I thought. Xianxia praised. Lu Qing took the opportunity to laugh and said, "This is called telepathy." Bah. Xianxia pursed her lips and raised her head to show her disdain. It was still early. The two of them walked slowly and took the opportunity to talk about their opponents. When they were about to reach the martial arts arena, Lu Qing suddenly exclaimed, "There are quite a lot of people today." The number of students coming from all directions was much more than what he had expected. Xianxia also didn't understand. She laughed and said, "Did the publicity department promote it again?" The two of them looked at each other blankly and walked into the arena hand in hand. They saw that the audience seats on both sides were sparsely filled with people. "There are about 1,000 people here?" Lu Qing sighed. It was definitely not comparable to the university martial arts competition, but it was enough to support a competition. Xianxia bit her teeth and said, "With so many spectators, will Senior Li Mao be more nervous?" The two of them entered the male locker room with worries. They saw Sun Jian standing up and teasing them. "Cheng, it's all your fault. You made the scene big." "What does it have to do with me?" Lu Qing was confused. Sun Jian laughed. "Didn't you save a student who jumped off a building on Monday? Everyone is curious about who the young hero is." After hearing that the martial arts club has a competition this weekend, they all came spontaneously. The martial arts club didn't publicize the preliminaries this weekend, but they didn't hide it either. Because they needed to use the venue, they posted a notice at the entrance, asking the students who were used to training on Saturday afternoons to avoid it. "It's really my fault." Lu Qing didn't expect this to be the reason. He couldn't help but look at Li Mao, who was sitting in the corner with a hot towel on his face. He looked a little nervous. At this time, Lin Hua pulled Xianxia aside and whispered something to her. Xianxia came back with a strange expression and whispered to Lu Qing, "Senior sister Lin's period came 2 days early because of nervousness. She's not in a good condition today, so I'll take her place." "Well, why would it come early?" Lu Qing asked in surprise. "Of course. Emotional changes, psychological stress, adjustment of work and rest, and physical condition will all affect it. Humph, I was already very tired on Valentine's Day, and your confession made my mood change too much. So I came early tonight." Xianxia said in a low voice. Lu Qing calculated the time and asked, "So early? My period is shorter than normal. It's only 26 days. Xianxia said angrily, "You're the coach today. Arrange the order of the fight. Don't count this." Lu Qing took a breath and looked at her. "Then you're really going to fight?" Xianxia was a little excited and a little nervous. She nodded slightly. "Yes." Lu Qing held her hand and whispered, "Don't be afraid. After a few days of training you should know what to do. No matter how strong they are, I can beat them with one hand." Xianxia looked at her boyfriend's deliberately arrogant face and couldn't help but laugh. She calmed down a lot. Lu Qing clapped his hands and said to his senior brothers and sisters, "Quiet down. Coach sure can't come today, so I've been appointed to take his place." "What?" Sun Jian and others looked at him in surprise. "Coach Lu? He might be the youngest coach in the history of the martial arts club, even if it was only one fight." In the female locker room, the beautiful Chen Ruoyu said in a low voice, "Lin Ke can't fight for sure, but Lu Qing can fight with injuries." However, they're mainly training the team. Even if Lu Qing fights, he'll be the last one. We have to deal with the first two as soon as possible and concentrate on him. Chapter 150. Hearing Qian Ruoyu's arrangement, Yu Qiao interrupted in surprise. Isn't Songqing University's Lu Qing known for his unlimited stamina? If we can't win, we can't win even if we take turns. Before he could finish his words, he was stared at by 4 fierce eyes. His voice became smaller and finally stopped abruptly. The 4 eyes were from Jiang Dingy and Feng Xiaoquan, who were sitting on either side of Qian Ruoyu. Damn it, what was wrong with my brain? Why did I get involved when they were fighting for a woman? What a waste of time and life. Yu Qiao didn't have the guts to scold the 2 flower protectors, so he could only complain about himself. He had just turned 22 and was of amateur first pin. His father was the junior brother of Qian Ruoyu's father. He wasn't a bad person, but he didn't have a good character. He had joined the team at Qian Ruoyu's invitation because he was interested in the gossip. Now he regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. Qian Ruoyu explained seriously with a serious face, I've consulted the elders in my family. They all agreed that Lu Qing can only do recovery training in these 2 days. If we force him to fight, there will be a lot of flaws on his right side. We can target him repeatedly, so it's not impossible. Well, junior sister is right. I didn't think clearly. While Yu Qiao answered sincerely, he silently said, a wise man submits to circumstances. To be honest, his junior sister was pretty and had a good character. She was just a little spoiled. Sometimes she was too greedy, and sometimes she liked to pretend to be an adult. Seeing that senior brother Yu was convinced by her, Qian Ruoyu beamed with joy, showing the youth and naivety of an 18 or 19-year-old girl. She looked around and said, so, our vanguard must be the type who is good at ending the battle quickly. Hearing this, Feng Xiaoquan volunteered, everyone has seen how good my tiger and crane double form is. I won't give them a chance to wander around and fight. He had a good appearance, but his slightly hooked nose showed a bit of arrogance and frivolity. Before Qian Ruoyu could answer, Jiang Dingy retorted, you think you can end the battle quickly if you don't wander around and fight? The gap between amateur first pin and second pin isn't that big. 24 blizzard strikes isn't a piece of scrap metal. Ruoyu, let me do it. I'm tall and strong. As long as I can seize the opportunity to force them into a head-on fight, the earth-shattering palm will definitely be able to end the battle quickly. He was close to 1.9 meters tall, and his muscles were firm like half an iron pillar. His personality was considered steady and he was dependable. It was just that he was rather stuffy and did not speak much. With a swoosh, Feng Xiaoquan stood up and sneered, in the previous few matches, when did you end them quickly? It's more likely that he'll be dealt with quickly. Due to the care given by the organizing committee intentionally or unintentionally, their opponents in the first 2 matches were not strong, which was a process for them to accumulate confidence and improve their strength. But no matter how much care was given, they still encountered a professional 9th pin in the second match. Jiang Dingy tried to exhaust his opponent with brute force, but his opponent seized the opportunity and finished him off. Hearing Feng Xiaoquan's ridicule, Jiang Dingy also stood up and stared at him. Didn't you lose in the end? Seeing that the 2 boys were about to have an internal conflict, Qian Ruoyu stepped in between them and covered her head. I'll fight the first round? There was no way he could live like this. The atmosphere in the Songqing University Martial Arts Club was the complete opposite. Damn, we have to call Coach Lu today? Sun Jian was annoyed and amused at the same time. Coach Shi was too irresponsible. Lin Hua, who was next to him, blushed inexplicably. It was already embarrassing enough for her to ask for leave because of her menstruation. However, the person she asked for leave was not the old Coach Shi, but a junior who was 2 years younger than her. Because Yanjika was going to take her place, she specifically explained it to Yanjika, but specifically told her not to tell the boys. Now it seemed that her junior must have passed on her words and helped her to ask for leave. Thinking of this, she was so shy that she stared at the floor attentively. Li Mao took off the hot towel on his face and said in surprise, Coach Shi left just like that? Did he really not care about the result of this match at all? Yeah, anyway, it's a match for us to accumulate actual combat experience. It doesn't matter who is the coach. We can even tie a dog. Lu Qing deliberately made fun of himself to help Li Mao relax. Everyone burst into laughter and Yanjika even hit Lu Qing. When Li Mao saw that no one was paying much attention to him, he heaved a sigh of relief. His body was no longer as tense. Lu Qing was about to arrange the order of appearance when the locker room door behind him was suddenly pushed open. Lin Kei walked in wearing a dark sweater. Lin Ke, why are you here? Sun Jian asked in surprise. Lin Ke said calmly, don't we have a match today? But you can't fight? Li Xiaowen thought Lin Ke was trying to be brave. Lin Ke looked at the corner of the locker room and said expressionlessly, I can cheer for you. Lu Cheng and Yan Zhika were stunned at first, then looked at each other and smiled. They both felt the change in Lin Quebec. After last week's match, my cousin seems to have a sense of collective honor. Yan Zhika whispered in Lu Cheng's ear, unable to restrain her excitement and happiness. Lu Cheng was a little confused. He used to have a sense of collective honor. Didn't he feel very sad and painful when he lost last semester's match? Well, how do I explain this? He used to value the martial arts club because of my uncle, but for him, he is the only one in the club. When he can't fight, he doesn't care about the life or death of others. Well, that's how he looks down on you. Yan Zhika laughed in a low voice, and her hot breath brushed against Lu Cheng's ear, making him feel numb. Ticklish. Lu Cheng tilted his head and laughed in a low voice. The others were shocked by Lin Ke's performance and were stunned for a moment, only watching the strange scene. Since when did young hero Lin, who was always alone, cheer for others? Yan Zhika laughed in a low voice. Every time you whisper in my ear, you're always like this. Lu Cheng gave a hollow laugh and didn't dare to continue the conversation. He changed the topic and said, in last week's game your cousin and I worked together without holding back and won the final victory. Maybe because of this, he has a sense of collective honor. How are you going to thank me? Do we still need to thank each other? Yan Zhika deliberately opened her eyes wide and answered innocently. Seeing that Sun Jian and the others were looking over, Lu Cheng stopped flirting and said seriously, I'll arrange the match today. I will arrange the order of appearance for today. Senior sister Lin Hua has suffered some injuries during the training, so Yan Zhika will take her place. She has not participated in the previous university martial arts competitions, nor has she participated in any challenge tournament. The Dream Battle team definitely does not know the details of her situation. In this way she will have the opportunity to win by surprise. Therefore, Yan Zhika, you will be the first to fight. Yan Zhika nodded seriously and answered, okay. Her body trembled slightly, more excited than nervous. Lin Hua was relieved and deeply grateful for Lu Cheng's care. While Guqing, Li Xiaowen, and Li Mao were surprised by Yan Zhika's replacement, Lu Cheng continued, Senior brother Sun Jian, you're the main player today. You'll be the last one to hold the line. All the heavy responsibilities are yours. He purposely said this to make Li Mao less nervous. No problem. Sun Jian answered straightforwardly. Lu Cheng looked at Li Mao and said, Senior brother Li, you'll be the second to fight. Observe your opponent later. At this time, he didn't say anything to make Li Mao relax, so that he wouldn't be nervous because of the special treatment. Li Mao was much less nervous than before. After arranging the match order, Lu Cheng looked at the time and said, there's still a while. Everyone get ready. You can close your eyes and adjust your breath. His master had already told him about the opponent's situation in the morning. He would combine the specific match order of the opponent and give him a secret instruction later. Just as Lu Cheng finished speaking, Yan Zhika picked up the bag and said hurriedly, Senior sister Lin Qing, help me tie my hair up. In less important matches where they were confident in themselves, female martial artists usually tied their hair up in a ponytail before going on stage. But in reality, their best choice was to wear their hair short or tied up in a bun. This was to prevent their hair from affecting their body in an intense battle or to be targeted by their enemies. Yan Zhika came from a family of martial arts. Since she was prepared for the possible fight today, she had brought all the necessary items. Under the guidance of the principle of convenience, not beauty, and with the help of Lin Hua and Guqing, she quickly tied her hair up and stood in front of Lu Cheng. The girl's neck was white and slender with beautiful lines. She looked more mature with her hair tied up. Lu Cheng couldn't help but praise her in a low voice, so beautiful. Yan Zhika's facial features were more delicate and her temperament was more gentle. But with her hair tied up, she gave people a feeling of bright eyes and white teeth. Am I not beautiful most of the time? Yan Zhika's eyes were filled with joy as she hummed in a low voice. Lu Cheng laughed and said, different beautiful. Yan Zhika smiled and didn't say more. She reached out her hand to help Lu Cheng tidy his collar and patted the dust off. She said softly, you're a coach. You have to be more spirited, okay? Yes, Coach Yan. Lu Cheng answered with a smile. He turned around and clapped his hands. Go out. There's not a big gap between amateur fighters of first pin and second pin. After saying that, he walked towards Lin Ke, who was by the door. He smiled and extended his fist. Lin Ke was stunned. In the end he clenched his fist and bumped it with Lu Cheng's. He said softly, "All the best." The audience in the martial arts arena was obviously not organized. When they saw the home team coming out, they started cheering for them sparsely. Li Liantong took advantage of the fact that no one here knew her. She waved her hands at Xianxia like a madwoman, venting her accumulated pressure. When she saw them approaching the home team seats, she said in surprise, "Cabbage Ruru, they don't seem to have a coach?" Her impression of the martial arts club's coach was a white-haired old man. Zhong Yinru stretched her neck and looked over. Suddenly she was stunned. Lu Cheng is sitting in the coach's seat. What? He's the coach today? Li Liantong and Shi Xiangyang were shocked. At the Dream Squad seating area, Qian Ruoyu pouted slightly and said unhappily, "Songqing University Martial Arts Club is looking down on us?" Their elders had repeatedly emphasized that the coach of Songqing University Martial Arts Club had a strong background and powerful strength. They also told them not to create trouble. If they were a dragon, they should coil up. If they were a tiger, they should lie down. In the end, the coach didn't even come and let that Lu Cheng be the coach. They really think we're kids. Humph, we have to teach them a lesson. Feng Xiaoquan and Jiang Dingy also felt that they were being looked down on. Their expressions were full of fighting spirit. Chapter 151. As a formal selection match, even if they were only qualified to record the match and didn't even have the chance to make a backup broadcast, the big screens in the martial arts arena lit up one after another, allowing the audience to clearly see the arena from all angles, as well as the seats of the host and away teams near the arena. "Hey, where's the coach of our martial arts club? I remember that he's an old man. The one sitting in the coach's seat seems to be a student. No way, could it be that the coach has changed? When I passed by yesterday I saw the former coach. Look carefully, I feel that the student coach looks a little familiar." The audience was noisy and bustling, but none of it entered Lu Cheng's ears. He was listening to Li Xiaowen's report on the opponent's members and order of appearance. Qian Ruoyu first, Feng Xiaoquan second, Jiang Dingy third. Lu Cheng muttered thoughtfully and felt a little relieved in his heart. Although there was no difference between men and women in martial arts competitions, and it was normal to have contact with fists and feet, and he himself could understand and accept it, he still felt a little uncomfortable when he thought that Xianxia would hold the opponent's wrist or be held by the opponent when using listening skill. It couldn't be better that her first opponent was a girl. When this match was over, the following opponents wouldn't dare to give her the chance to use listening skill. It was okay to attack the opponent's vital points in a martial arts competition, but one shouldn't deliberately take advantage of the opponent. That would be ostracized by the whole circle, which would tarnish the image of a martial artist. While thinking, Lu Cheng pulled Xianxia over and said with a smile, "Do you want to win quickly or do you want to train your actual combat ability?" Feeling her boyfriend's confident attitude, Xianxia's slightly trembling body calmed down. She smiled and said, "How do you want to win quickly? How do you want to train your actual combat ability?" You've seen the video of Qian Ruoyu's previous matches, and we've also discussed it. She doesn't lack actual combat experience, but either she wins smoothly or loses cleanly. She hasn't encountered any unexpected situations. As long as you can surprise her, she will most likely make mistakes. Lu Cheng coughed and gave instructions in the manner of a coach. Xianxia's beautiful eyes looked up and said, "To win quickly is to surprise her with the ability to pull back the center of gravity at the beginning of the match and create opportunities with all my strength? To train my actual combat ability is to hold back temporarily and use fists and feet?" "More or less." Lu Cheng smiled and said, "However, actual combat situations are ever-changing. Your opponent may not give you a chance to familiarize yourself with your punches and kicks. No matter how much I say, it still depends on your judgment and performance. Personally, I suggest you don't hold anything back." At this moment, the referee said in a clear voice, "The third round of the Songqing Division Preliminaries, Songqing University Martial Arts Club vs. Dream Squad. First round, Xianxia vs. Qian Ruoyu." When Xianxia was about to enter the ring, Lu Cheng seized the last chance to whisper a few words to her. "If there's no other opportunity, I'll show a flaw and let Qian Ruoyu use Tai Chi hand wrap to compete with her in listening skill. I've observed her. She's very confident in touching listening skill and always wants to try it. However, it's obvious that she hasn't entered meditation yet. She relies entirely on the characteristics of her martial arts and her usual push hand training. There's a certain gap between you and her, so you can restrain her." After defeating Qian Ruoyu, Feng Xiaoquan will be the next to enter the ring. He'll definitely want to save face for his beloved girl, so his fighting style will be relatively more aggressive. This will give you the opportunity to use 24 blizzard strikes. When the time comes, even if Feng Xiaoquan doesn't lose, he'll be close to defeat. This will give Senior Li Mao the best opportunity to enter the battle. Xianxia listened carefully, her eyes flashing as if digesting. Although she came from a family of scholars and her accumulation of knowledge was far better than Lu Cheng's, and she was always good at analyzing matches and giving suggestions, it was all just theory. When it was her turn, she still felt a little guilty and didn't dare to believe her own judgment and preparation. Her mind was in a mess. She wasn't as experienced as Lu Cheng, who could calmly analyze any situation and handle it from the details. Listening to her boyfriend's tireless and detailed explanation, Xianxia gradually became more certain. She nodded slightly, smiled faintly, pursed her lips and was about to step forward. Suddenly Lu Cheng called her in a low voice. Xianxia turned her head to look at him, her face full of confusion. Lu Cheng raised the corner of his mouth and smiled gently. "This time it's my turn to cheer for you." He suddenly clenched his hands into fists and shook them. "Victory." Xianxia's eyes suddenly became gentle. She smiled sweetly and said, "This seems to be the first time someone has cheered for me like this." After saying this, she turned around and walked up the stone steps step by step. Her body had stopped trembling and her feet didn't slow down at all. When she stepped into the ring and her figure was completely magnified by the screen, the stands on both sides suddenly quieted down. No one would have thought that the first fighter of Songqing University Martial Arts Club would be such a beautiful girl. Bright eyes and white teeth. She was beautiful and elegant. Qian Ruoyu was originally a recognized beauty. She was delicate, tender, and full of youthfulness. However, when she stood in front of Xianxia, she was instantly overshadowed. She was dwarfed and looked like a passerby. It can't be. Songqing University Martial Arts Club has such a beauty? It's fine if there is, but how can they bear to let her fight in the challenge tournament? Yu Qiao betrayed Dream Squad in an instant and said with heartache. Even if they had liked Qian Ruoyu for many years and their obsession had become very deep, Jiang Dingy and Feng Xiaoquan were still shocked by the girl's beauty. If they were to fight, they might be timid and subconsciously give in. They might also want to show off their strength. Of course, this was under the condition that Qian Ruoyu wasn't watching. In the ring, when Qian Ruoyu saw Xianxia, her heart suddenly tightened. She felt an inexplicable sense of danger. It seemed that she was already at a disadvantage and her status was shaky. She secretly gritted her teeth and planned to use her martial arts strength to turn the situation around. 3 minutes of conversation time. The referee announced. "I've seen your information. You haven't participated in the ranking event, and you haven't fought in the challenge tournament before. Today is your first real battle, right?" Qian Ruoyu wasn't stupid. She used her first real battle to make her opponent nervous. Xianxia's mind was echoing with Lu Cheng's encouragement and analysis just now. She casually replied, "Yes, but there are always pros and cons. At least you don't know me at all." She smiled faintly and hid all the nervousness between her eyebrows. "So what if it's my first real battle? My boyfriend defeated his opponent easily in his first real battle." At this moment, Lu Cheng didn't return to his coach's seat. Instead, he approached the ring and watched the match closely. To him, Xianxia's appearance made him more nervous than him fighting. He was afraid that she would be injured or wronged. He was afraid that she would encounter some unexpected situation. In his own battle, at least he could control everything. But now, after direct instruction, he could only watch. The rest would depend on Xianxia's improvisation. And how she would perform on the spot was completely unknown. Lu Cheng hid his nervousness and looked as calm as ice. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and stood beside the ring, watching quietly. "Wow, that coach is so cool. You're still in the mood to watch the coach? Which school is that girl from? I remember meeting her on the road. I even hit a telephone pole because I peeked at her. She seems to have a boyfriend. I often see her eating with a boy in the cafeteria. Wait, it seems to be that coach. Damn it, rabbits don't eat the grass near their burrows. Maybe she's there to eat the grass near their burrows." Before this, although Xianxia was pretty, there were many pretty girls among the tens of thousands of students. There were also quite a few who were not worse than her. She had never hosted a party to welcome freshmen and had never done anything in the limelight. So, not everyone knew about her. Only those in the same school, the martial arts club, and her roommates knew about her. As for the others, they would only take a few glances when they met on the road. but soon they would forget about her because of their studies and games. Lu Qing even knows how to pose and act cool. Li Liantong snickered and said to Shi Xiangyang. Shi Xiangyang guessed, I think he's just nervous about Ko. He's full of boyfriend power. In the midst of everyone's discussion, the 3 minutes of conversation came to an end. Qian Ruoyu tried her best but failed to affect Yanjika's mood. Instead, she was irritated by the way Yanjika looked at her as if she had dropped out of school. She planned to teach her opponent a lesson. Yanjika didn't know what Qian Ruoyu was thinking. The reason why she kept looking at her was because she thought of the melodramatic emotional entanglement between her and the two boys. She wanted to see what the parties involved were like. Begin. The referee waved his right hand. Yanjika had made up her mind to hold back and familiarize herself with her moves so that she could adapt to the real battle as soon as possible. Therefore, after a few steps, she twisted her waist and back and directly launched a mountain blast punch. Qian Ruoyu put her feet together and punched with her left hand. Like a drum, her left hand moved horizontally to Yanjika's wrist. Bam! Yanjika's strength was slightly weaker and her body swayed a little. At this moment, Qian Ruoyu loosened her shoulders and exerted strength purely from her waist and back. Her left arm was like a tangled hand, leading Yanjika's right fist to the side. Yanjika's center of gravity was affected subconsciously. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Qian Ruoyu took half a step forward and quickly punched with her right fist, aiming for the exposed middle flaw of her opponent. This fighting style, which originated from Tai Chi, put Yanjika in danger. Yanjika's heart tightened. Fortunately, she had been practicing for a long time and didn't panic. Her spine suddenly wriggled like a dragon turning over and forcibly pulled her center of gravity back. She then used her left foot as a fulcrum and turned around to Qian Ruoyu's right side. With her back facing the enemy, she narrowly avoided the forward punch. With her back facing the enemy, it was difficult to observe the situation. Even if she used her elbow to attack, it would be easy for her to counterattack. Yanjika didn't stop. She turned again and came behind Qian Ruoyu. She raised her right hand and punched down. Qing was right. My opponent won't give me a chance to familiarize myself with my moves. She forced me to pull my center of gravity from the beginning. Is this real battle? Chapter 152. Qian Ruoyu was quite shocked when Yanjika forcibly pulled back her center of gravity and circled to her right. She didn't expect Songqing University Martial Arts Club to have a secret weapon after injuring Lin Ke and Lu Cheng. A secret weapon that had reached the initial level of meditation and a secret weapon that could control the details of the body to a certain extent. This was really a configuration for the final round of the university martial arts competition. Fortunately, she was also a martial artist who had experienced many actual battles. Although she was shocked, she did not panic. In a situation where she could not withdraw her right fist in time, she directly tightened the muscles on her right thigh and threw out a side kick, fast and ruthless. However, Yanjika didn't stop. She circled to her back and just when she withdrew her right leg and couldn't exert force. Damn it. She didn't look like she didn't have actual combat experience. Facing Yanjika's downward punch, Qian Ruoyu cursed in her heart. She quickly tapped her right foot and swung her arm. Instead of pulling it back, she hammered forward, causing her upper body to fall down. She narrowly avoided the fatal blow with a slanted posture. At the same time, her lower body stood firmly without the slightest wobble. Failing to hit, Yanjika wanted to turn her fist into a palm and press down with force to make Qian Ruoyu unable to maintain her center of gravity. However, at this moment, Qian Ruoyu's upper body was like a spring. She suddenly pulled back and leaned back, avoiding Yanjika's right palm. Her left arm was already bent, and what followed was a vicious elbow strike. Yanjika raised her left hand and blocked her elbow in time. Then she felt the strength of this strike was quite strong. She didn't dare to be careless and withdrew her palm to reduce the force. In a split second, Qian Ruoyu used the blocked elbow as a fulcrum and threw out her forearm with a clenched fist towards Yanjika's lower abdomen. Tilting punch. Lifting palm. Impossible to guard against. Yanjika had watched many of her opponent's competition videos and was familiar with her fighting style. But this was the first time she encountered a real fight. Although she wasn't nervous, her mind was still a little muddled. She couldn't quickly turn her accumulated knowledge into on-the-spot judgment. She couldn't make the correct response in time to the pull and the tilt just now. Fortunately, her choice wasn't completely wrong. When she withdrew her left palm holding Qian Ruoyu's elbow, she drew a small arc, flipped it up and then shook it. Together with the push of her right palm, she threw her enemy one step forward. As the distance between the two of them increased, Xianruoyu's punch hit nothing but air. She simply went along with the force of the throw and took a few steps forward, taking advantage of the momentum to turn around, returning the situation to the confrontation before the official start of the competition. Xianxia recalled the previous scenes in her mind. She realized that she lacked actual combat experience and had made many mistakes in judgment. If she hadn't been cautious enough, she would have been defeated. Until now, she finally understood why Lu Cheng had suggested that they not hold back and go all out with her as the leader. Because this was the only way to avoid making mistakes to the greatest extent. If you don't listen to the words of the old man, you'll be at a disadvantage. However, if he didn't experience it for himself, he wouldn't be able to understand the insight contained in these words. She took a light breath and felt that she had completely entered the competition state. Her mind was clear again and she was no longer nervous and confused. Since he understood, he would listen to Coach Lu. She pounced forward, took a step forward, and took the initiative to attack. Seeing that Xianxia had narrowly avoided the punch, Lu Cheng was relieved. From her last counterattack, he judged that she had truly adapted to the competition and had shed the inexperience of a rookie. Not losing in a dangerous situation. With this kind of experience, Ku's martial arts combat will be much easier in the future. Lu Cheng nodded with gratification. Even for himself, it was only when he fought with the Shaolin disciple Wu Shitong that he relied on the listening skill and had a similar experience. The audience in the stands applauded one after another, spontaneously cheering for Xianxia according to the name list on the big screen. They didn't expect that this girl, who looked elegant, gentle, light, and delicate, could perform so valiantly and heroically. Among the cheers of Go Xianxia, Li Liantong, Shi Xiangyang, and Zhong Yanru felt honored and shouted the most intensely. The reason why such an atmosphere was intoxicating was because when one was in it, one didn't have to consider the opinions of others. They could vent themselves to their heart's content, including happiness, pride, and the accumulated negative emotions. How come everyone in the Songqing University Martial Arts Club can enter meditation? Yu Qiao's eyes greedily followed the beautiful figure and couldn't help but sigh. The members of the Dream Squad were all extraordinary, but until now, only Jiang Dingy had entered the door of meditation. For a martial arts aristocratic family, meditation was not something that could be practiced at any time. If one was too young and had a pure heart, he or she would know almost nothing. If one tried to meditate, he or she would only fall asleep. As one grew older and had more contact with society, the information they received would be more varied, and it would be harder for them to conceal their spirit and qi. In other words, the most suitable age to practice meditation was between the ages of 10 to 22 or 23. In this, the spirit was closely related to the body. The stronger the body, the more vigorous the qi and blood, and the more energetic the spirit, the easier it was to enter meditation. Therefore, before a martial artist's body was fully developed and his qi and blood were vigorous to a certain extent, practicing meditation would only make one tired, slowed down, and weak. Without a certain level of talent, it was almost impossible to enter the door. Considering this, martial arts families arranged for their disciples to practice meditation between 17 or 22 years old. Some were even more extreme, requiring the body to reach the level of professional ninth pin. Jiang Dingy, Feng Xiaoquan, and Chen Ruoyu had only started to try it in the past year and a half. Feng Xiaoquan answered with slight worry, could it be that the coach of Songqing University has some secret method? Xianxia's meditation seems to have reached the initial level. Her ability should be more than that. If Ruoyu is careless, the result will be troublesome. Although that girl was pleasing to the eye, the one he cared about most was still Chen Ruoyu. There are tens of thousands of students in Songqing University. It's not difficult to find a few who have the talent to enter meditation. Jiang Dingy sighed. Although there were high-ranked dance stage fighters in his martial arts club, it would be good enough if he could pick one out of 100 disciples. After all, it was not some big sect or force. In the arena, Xianxia approached Chen Ruoyu and threw a seabed burst punch at her lower abdomen. During this process, she did some visualization and mixed a little of the meteor force into her fist, making it faster and faster. It tore the air and made an explosive sound. Her physical quality was not enough to complete the real meteor force. Bam! Chen Ruoyu lowered her body and hammered her left hand down fiercely, blocking Xianxia's burst punch. Bang! When the two collided, she was about to repeat the same trick and lead her opponent's fist away. Xianxia's body trembled. She took the opportunity to withdraw her fist and borrowed strength. She stretched out her left hand and grabbed Chen Ruoyu's shoulder quickly and fiercely. Brutal blizzard of 24 blizzard strikes. Ruoyu was not surprised but happy. She pushed her feet inward and put strength in her waist and back. Her right shoulder loosened and moved forward. Just when her hand came into contact with Xianxia's palm, she suddenly tightened her shoulder. Before her opponent could grab her, she bounced and shook. Xianxia's left hand was immediately bounced away and slightly stopped in the air. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Ruoyu shook her right arm and caught Xianxia's palm with Tai Chi hand wrap. Seeing this scene, Jiang Dingy and Feng Xiaoquan immediately shouted "Good job," and couldn't wait to rush to the side of the field to applaud. But when they saw Lu Qing smiling and nodding opposite them, they suddenly realized something and hurriedly shouted, "Let go!" At this moment, Ruoyu could not hear the voices outside the arena. She held her opponent's slender fingers and pulled them down without hesitation. However, before she could exert her strength, Xianxia seemed to have anticipated it. Her left hand moved in the direction of her pulling and her body moved closer. Her right hand clenched into a fist and suddenly punched out, aiming for Ruoyu's lower abdomen. Ruoyu did not dare to be negligent. She temporarily stopped trying with her right hand and gathered her strength to pound her left fist like a drum. Bang! In the midst of the dull sound, Xianxia used her listening skill to pull back her left hand. Under Ruoyu's subconscious grip, they pulled her forward with their combined strength. It was this movement that made Xianxia tighten her right thigh and hit Ruoyu with her knee. Poof! Her knee hit Ruoyu's lower abdomen, but she stopped in time and did not use her full strength. The referee beside them stopped his action and raised his right hand. First round, Xianxia wins. Xianxia withdrew her right leg and stood up straight again. For a moment she was still a little absent-minded. She won just like that? She had made several wrong judgments and was surrounded by dangers. After changing her fighting style according to her boyfriend's advice, she actually won so easily. Ruoyu really liked to use Tai Chi hand wrap and to compete with others in listening skill. Ruoyu was really too smooth. In the face of unexpected changes, her reaction was indeed too slow, and this was completely consistent with Cheng's judgment just now. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but look back at Lu Cheng. She saw him clenching his fist with a bright smile and giving her a thumbs up. He is really a professional fighter with enough insight and experience. This thought came to Xianxia's mind. Her mouth curved, her nose wrinkled, and she actually made a funny face at Lu Cheng. After a moment of absent-mindedness, her first real victory made her very happy and excited. She couldn't wait to rush down the arena and celebrate with Lu Cheng. It was the first time Lu Cheng saw a girl make a funny face. For a moment he felt that she was so cute. The audience who were watching the big screen didn't miss this scene. The cheers and shouts became sparse. Ruoyu rubbed her stomach and stood up straight. Her expression was very complicated. She had never thought that she would lose so quickly and so cleanly. After discovering that her opponent could forcibly pull back her center of gravity, she should have realized that her meditation skills were enough to support her listening skill in a battle. Ruoyu was a little unwilling to admit defeat. "I didn't know you well enough this time. Next time I'll win it back." After saying this, she realized that Xianxia was not looking at her at all. Instead, she was exchanging glances with their coach, Lu Cheng. "This is so disrespectful." Ruoyu snorted and turned to leave. Feng Xiaoquan came up to her and patted her shoulder comfortingly. Xianxia turned back, her eyebrows relaxed. She laughed in a low voice, "Next time I won't be a newbie." At this moment, the audience finally realized what had happened. They loudly cheered and shouted for her, their voices echoing around the martial arts arena. "Xianxia! Xianxia! Xianxia!" Xianxia finally experienced the wonderful feeling that her boyfriend had always described. Her cheeks were slightly red from excitement. When she saw Feng Xiaoquan enter the arena, she naturally thought of Lu Cheng's judgment just now. Feng Xiaoquan was obviously in love with Ruoyu. He was the standard flower guardian. After his sweetheart was defeated, he would definitely be eager to help her get revenge in exchange for a good impression. Therefore his fighting style would be more aggressive than usual. "This is my chance to use 24 blizzard strikes." You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.